All right. We'll call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for March the 28th of 2011. First on the agenda, we'll entertain a motion for the minutes of last month.
So moved.
Got a motion to have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Kind of explain to some people why we're here tonight. I knew we were going to have a crowd here tonight. Also, Lisa Marcheshoni had also asked, and I think she's got a class that's coming here from MTSU that wants to observe our meeting. So she'll be coming in with some people here at 6 o'clock. So I did not want to violate the fire codes in room 205, so that's why we're here tonight. All right. First on the agenda tonight is the OSHA report. And if you would, just come up to the podium and present your report.
Good evening. I've already placed the copy of the report there in front of you. For the month of February, we had a total of 31 injuries requiring medical attention, bringing the total year-to-date to 49. Of those 49, 28 of them are recordable, 14 had restricted days, lost days were 4, and year-to-date all others then 10. If you look at the next page and you look at the graph, you'll notice that we were up in the month of February. We're up an increase of 7 over last month. And trying to figure out where that came from, we looked for patterns, any particular claims, departments, or hazards, and we were not able to find any particular departments or hazards. For example, struck by or injured by it increased 3, strains it increased by 2, and motor vehicle accidents increased by 2. Some of that is from weather related, that we've had some severe weather in the month of February. So I couldn't identify any one particular reason why that went up. Also, when you start looking at the departments and things like that, there was, again, no one single department actually had a big increase. It was strung all the way across the county, Board of Education, County General Highway, everybody had a slight increase allowing for that. One thing I would like to note, though, while the claim number is up, the dollars are actually down. If you noted last week in the insurance meeting, it was reported that the payments for the OGI program are at 86% from where they were the previous year. So while claims are up slightly right now, the dollars paid out for those claims are down about 86% of what they were last time. Of course, for the month of February, we had a total of 31 claims. The dollars incurred for that was $67,611. County General had a total of 13 claims, where the dollars incurred on that was $51,861. The Board of Education had a total of 17 claims. And just to make note, when you look at that depiction there, there was doing some adjustments in the program, and it actually separated out one claim separate from the others, and I've put it all on one page, and that's why you see 16 and 1 for a total of 17 on that. And the highway had the remaining for the to make up the losses for the month of February. That's all I have at this time, unless you have questions.
Anybody have any questions for Dan? Hearing or seeing none, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask him one thing on the County General, on the amount of payments incurred on the 2 strainer injury. I assume there's something heavier, like maybe a motor vehicle or something. Is there going to be follow-up to them?
On the dollars incurred, maybe I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, it's the division's Rutherford County. We had 2 strainer injuries.
Yes.
Okay. It says what you paid was $1,300, but the total that we incurred from those 2 incidents are $39,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that mean, is the claim over, or?
No, and just the opposite. What happens when the incurred dollars, when the claim comes in, an adjuster looks at that and determines that from their experience and certain requirements that they need to complete, they estimate what that claim is going to cost. Okay. The cost is estimated for the month of February to be somewhere around $39,000 for 2 claims. Right now, we've only paid on that $1,300. And of course, if, for example, one of those, if they're wrong or if a claim doesn't go as far as they expected, then that claim will close short of the incurred dollars. But right now, that's expected to be 39. Of course, the reverse is that true if during the process of treating the individual, if the claim determines that the claim is going to require more dollars, then the incurred dollars can go up also, and that would go up at another time, and it could actually be another $10,000 or $15,000 added to a claim. But at the time of the claims were entered in, that's what was thought to be about $39,000 for those two.
All right, anybody else have any questions? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. All right, anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is the ambulance service report, and I think you have it on the table. Go right here, Mike.
We made a total of 1,720 calls for the month of February. Our average response time was 7.6 minutes. We had 20 coroner's calls, and the number of autopsies for the month was 7. We billed a total of $434,582. Of that, $394,579 were collected by us, and the Mars Collection Agency collected $4,147. So that gave us a total of $398,726 collected. That gives us a year-to-date of $3,705,432 and puts us on a projection of $5.5 million. We had insurance write-offs of $307,222, collection agency write-offs $27,783, and we didn't have any people who qualified for the county portion of that. The table at the bottom of the page is the mileage and the ambulances operating costs. We drove a total of 33,981 miles. We had 508 calls that were responded to out of zone. We had 5 different in-services and training for the entire ambulance service. Our SORT team had several things that were worth mentioning there, and our REACT team had 11 different things for the month.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you. The total out of zone calls 508. Is that, I'm going off memory, is that higher than normal?
It's the Burton Street zone.
Burton Street zone, okay.
On the next page, I think that table, last month was the first time we had used that table. But what that does is it gives you an idea of the total number of calls that were made into each zone. But it also lets you know the ambulances have responded to different zones and how many times. For instance, Salem Road, their zone is Zone 1. They made 156 calls there. They made 17 calls into Zone 2, which is Burton Street, and 4 calls into Zone 3, and so forth like that. So you can see as that lays out pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. The next page is the number of district calls, and that too reflects the fact that Manchester Road is being sent to their standby, which is at Rutherford and Broad Street. Our critical transport team made a total of 95 calls. 33 of those were transfers and 62 911 calls. Next page is year-to-date on that same information. And then there's 2 or 3 letters that people have sent to us.
While you're on these letters, I had the unfortunate I guess, not really a privilege, but, my family had to use the ambulance service in the last 2 weeks, on 2 occasions. Once for one of my grandsons, and the other was my mother-in-law. And, the ambulance service and the fire department, I just want to commend those paramedics and those firefighters that made those 2 calls, and I don't know the names,
I
But-
can find that for you.
but if you would pass that on to them, and that I do appreciate the customer service that they give my family.
We had 864 FMLA hours, 489 and a half sick hours, and 1,200 vacation hours.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
on the first page, total number of calls. We have more this year than we did in the months in the last 2 years. Yet we had roughly half the total bill that we had last year and the year before. Why would that be?
Sometimes they get caught up in the month. The only really way that we have of being able to make some kind of sense out of that is to show you what was billed during 1 month and what we collected in the month. But you have to remember that those collections are probably from the past 2 or 3 months, most of them. And the other thing, Commissioner Schaefer, we're undergoing a transition right now with the Mars billing service. And so what's going to happen is we think this is going to be our worst month. But you should see their collections pick up, and you should see ours go down, because we'll be billing for calls that happened prior to February 1st.
Anybody? Oh, you still going on? You still got some more on your report?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mike? If there's no questions, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Second. And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Got a budget amendment.
We have several. On the first page is transfers from within our own department. We need to increase the patient charges by $7,000, and also to increase the refunds by $7,000. We have exhausted almost all of our money from refunds. In communications, we need to transfer $5,000 from there into postage. We expect the postage to go down, but as of right now, we're still projecting to be about $5,000 over there. And we'd like to transfer $60,000 from paraprofessional payroll into the part-time personnel payroll.
Anybody have any questions on the request?
I've got 2 more if you want me to put those in there too.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do them all at the same time, be fine.
We would like to ask for $80,000 to go into our fuel account, 425, and $15,000 to go into our utilities account, that money being taken from our ending fund balance for the public health and welfare account.
Okay, y'all have heard the request. Is there any questions for Mike?
What is the assigned public health and welfare account? What is in that account?
We have our own account, separate from the general fund.
Okay, and then the other question I have is the paraprofessionals payroll. Do you have an unfilled position there? Is that how you have money left over to move to part-time? Or
Not right now, but throughout the year we have. And of course, when someone leaves, we hire at the bottom end of the pay scale.
Okay.
That's why we've been able to generate that.
That other account is basically like the ending fund balance that we usually have, except it's in the ambulance service. Any other questions?
Gasoline, we're asking for 80,000 more. And the original budget was 120, so we're almost doubling it.
Our billing runs a little bit behind on the gasoline account because it comes from the finance office. through the month of, the end of January, we had already spent $111,880.45. So if you project that out, that's probably going to be about $80,000.
We don't have another account other than your ended fund balance we can pull that out of.
No, the general fund has an account for those departments that go over, but in our account, we don't have that. And one of the things I might mention to you is that we've collected $48,000 this year from doing special events. And you'll recall in the past, Commissioner P, that we've always transferred that back into where it belongs. But we haven't done that because Lisa said instead of doing it every month, just leave it alone because it's all in one fund anyway. So we've added $48,000 to there. Plus, we still have some that's billed out we haven't collected yet.
And what line item did that 48,000 go into?
Well, we haven't moved it anywhere. It's just gone into our ending fund balance.
It goes into this account here assigned for public health and welfare account.
Also, in the past 4 months, the price of diesel and regular have gone up about $1 a gallon, haven't they? Close to it.
Is there any other questions from Mike on his request? If there's none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the amendments.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion on the motion on the floor. Hearing or seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, that it? Thank you. Next is the Paul's report. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Good evening. Thank you. I'm doing well. You?
Good.
I've put the reports on the desk in front of you. You'll have two in my stack. One's going to be the rabies exposure and bite report. The other's going to be our monthly and our year-to-date report. You'll see that for the month of February, we took in 564 animals into the shelter, and we had 561 go back out of the shelter. On the end of February, we had 160 animals that remained in the shelter. 2,141 people visited the shelter looking for a lost or a new pet. Over on page 2, you'll see that we had 1,128 calls. 1,084 of those calls were completed. The others had remained open, needing more follow-up work. And then that we also had 9,625 miles for the month of February. Page number 3 shows our stats for year to date. We've taken in 5,342 animals, and we've had 5,366 go back out. And we've had almost 17,500 people visit the shelter during that time. On the 4th page, you'll see that we've had 9,712 calls received, 9,756 calls that were completed, and year to date, we've traveled over 85,000 miles. The last page of the report is in response to some questions that we had at last month's meeting, asking where we were on our revenue collected for the year. You'll see that we've collected over $265,000 year to date. We had a projected estimate using the revenue estimates that were turned in with last year's budget of almost $453,000. That does include some money that was requested as contributions from cities that we did not receive, and then also our adoption and our reclaim numbers are down over year to date.
Got a question for you.
Sure.
On the rabies licensing numbers,
Yes, sir.
collected was $54,204.50.
Correct.
And it's estimated 102,000. Why such, and then also the adoption and reclaims?
The
from
adoption-
96 to 203,000.
Right. The adoption and reclaims, that was set up to where I think it was projected when everything was turned in for the budget last year that we were going to have around 2,300 adoptions. We're only running around 1,200 to 1,300 right now. Hope that's going to pick up as the warm weather comes on, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see there. The rabies licenses is the same thing. I've kind of looked back over some of the figures and it's kind of ebbed and flowed, but we don't have really any explanation for that. Now we do have April's going to be a big month because of the rabies clinics. So hopefully that we'll be able to report that, hey, we're fixing to see a huge jump in those numbers that will make up for that. But as far as year-to-date, we are running behind there.
Okay.
You'll see on the rabies exposure and bite report, and I will preface this report by saying that I didn't get the rabies information from the supervisors until middle of last week. And I don't know if you all know, but one of our supervisors has had a death in their family, and everything has been a little bit crazy. So I believe, to the best of my knowledge, this report is correct. They've not been able to check it over to make sure, with it being my first one. If there are issues, I will bring those back to you next month.
Okay, appreciate it.
But for actual bites, we had 29 bites for the month of February. 8 of those were sent off for testing. And then we had 8 other exposures, which would be either contact or scratch to where there wasn't an actual bite. 2 of those were sent off for testing. None of those that were sent off for testing were returned positive. And you can see for the year to date that we've had 53 bites reported, 17 tested, 12 other exposures reported, and 4 of those were tested. I also have a map here in response to some questions that were asked at last month's meeting as far as what dictates our zones, and you'll see on the calls there. I'll leave that with the chairman. That way you all can look over that, and I'll just leave that with you
Okay.
when we get done with that.
All right. Any questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion and a second. All right, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the Correctional Work Center report. And I think it's on your desk as well. There you go. I knew you were sitting around looking for you there.
I believe everybody has a copy of the report. The first page is the yearly activity report. Pretty much reflects our census for the months. February, you see our census has increased the last couple of months, so we're averaging about 178 on a daily. Pretty much DUI little pickups, they've been going pretty good. February showed a dip just because of the shorter month and I'm sure because of the inclement weather. Programs have been going very well, and they're getting ready to have the GED test actually in the next couple of weeks, I believe. That's pretty much it on that first page. Unless there's any questions.
Any questions on the first page one?
On the monthly worker report, just reflects for the month of February, we saved the county $105,536 with the crews going out and their man hours. It's a pretty good month, and that total is going to pick up because of spring and summer coming up with the number of crews going out. Any questions on that? Next page is the December state litter pickup. And this pretty much is solid waste. They take care of that. And, of course, they use the inmates for the manpower. And we collected $29.41.57 from the state for December and $32.80 for January. And last month, there was a question about if we can give the routes. Previously, the reason for that is a security thing with not telling the inmates beforehand where they're going to be, so there won't be any kind of contraband being dropped off for them to pick up and try to enter it back into the facility. And then the last 3 pages, I believe, is going to be the minutes from the last board meeting. We discussed the amendments that we requested, which came through here last month, and those are all passed. discuss the work release program, which we're doing the research on, and the grant, the Life and You program, which we run with the Sheriff's Department, and we're just trying to figure out a way to keep the grant going, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we just got to figure out maybe to use some volunteers to continue that program. And a couple of cleanup programs we had, one with the Community Care Center, and the other one was with the town of Smyrna down on Jefferson Pike. That's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions on his report? Don't see any. Anybody have a motion to make? Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Anything else? Thank you. County Fire and Rescue Department.
These are old ones. I just bring them.
Sorry for the confusion. I just got one of the reports from EMS worked up for me for the cost on the rescue vehicles. First page is my report. I just wanted to point out just a few things on there. We were able to get all of our pumpers pump tested this month, and we finished those up last week. We've got all of our pumpers, took them out to the Kentville training facility and got all of our pump tests, and they all passed. We've also conducted our ladder test on all of our ladders that are mounted on our trucks and got those certified and those passed. I have a captain that's over medical. She's a paramedic, and she's teaching a first responder class at Station 2 starting the 14th to the 23rd. The only cost of this class to the students is the cost of their textbook. And then sent engine 102 to the garage this week and had the main computer replaced in it. It was the ECM computer, and then if you'll notice right down toward the bottom, engine 102 was sent to the garage to rebuild the transmission in it. That engine is about 20 years old. Next page is the motor vehicle accidents. Average response time for the month is 7.7 minutes, and we had a total of 2 extrications. I think one of them was Rescue 7 and Rescue 15 performed, no, Rescue 17, excuse me. Rescue 17 performed that. Next page is the total training hours and responses on structure fires, MVAs, brush fires and such. And then the water report.
Is there a required number of training hours for each department?
The county contract, 40 hours a year, which is what Fire Commission requires. And then the last page on there, I added this, this is what our secretary turns into the codes department. I thought I'd attach it on there. It's a number of all the structure fires we had last month in February, and according to what fire district they occurred in. And then you should have two sheets. One of them is Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department Rescue Out of Service Log, March 2011. And this shows the number of times that Rescue 15, which is Allenville Fire Department, Rescue 7, and Rescue 21 called out of service. Of course, when we have 5 rescue districts, and it's still an issue of manpower or maintenance or whatever. So when one rescue truck calls out of service, then we notify all the other rescue trucks, and those 4 of the districts cover that area. Plus, SORT is notified in case they have to respond. The next page is what Rutherford County EMS worked up for me, is the rescue unit summary from July 2010 when we started this program till February 2011. If you'll notice on there, it gives the mileage of each rescue truck and what type of apparatus it is. It also gives what we spent on fuel at the county garage, fuel man cards, which is when the fuel when we run out of fuel at the pits, and the total cost is $11,503.91. Through January 11th, projected expenditure at the county garage will be $12,268. Now, this expense right here, remember, was paid by EMS from July 10th to July or June the 30th of this year. And then July 1st, all this right here will come up under my budget. We did this because we didn't know what to expect, what the expenditure is going to be, and EMS volunteered to incur those costs for us. So we've kind of got a history on it now and kind of know how to budget it. So this is what all this will come under the fire rescue budget as of July 1st. And that's my report.
Any questions on the report?
Larry, I'd like to ask one on the motor vehicle report.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're several on Barfield. 2 of them are at Barfield in the School of Dance, and another one of them was at River Downs. And I know that, when was it, last year, the beginning of last year, 2010, I think there was an accident there that somebody ran off
It's
the road.
February 5th, and that was actually on further down in that curve. This right here is probably about half a mile or 3/4 mile away from that area. Right there at the School of Dance is a real sharp curve, and most time when they wreck, they flip right there. And
Hold on just a minute. Not trying to cut y'all off on this, but there is litigation going on the records you're talking about, and it'd probably be best if we didn't discuss, that wreck or anything like that. But as far as the questions, as far as on the other wrecks on there,
Yeah, well, that's what,
Well, the School of Dance is this real sharp curve right there. And of course, when it rains or the road gets a little wet, they come through there a little bit too fast. And a lot of
is
times
that
they
what
flip
these
it.
were speed on
Yeah,
those 2?
speed and of course the weather. And then on Barfield Road right there in the curve of River Downs, we have one there at least once, sometimes twice a week. And it seems like when it comes a little shower, the road gets slick, and when they hit that curve, they wipe out. Those are 2 problem areas right there that I know of that I hear a lot, is at the School of Dance on the old Barfield Road and then Barfield Crescent, coming off of 231 right in that first hard curve.
So were these just one vehicle accidents, or?
Most of the time, it's just they hit that curve, and because of speed and the wet roads, they flip the vehicle. And I think both those wrecks right there were non-injury. They did flip the vehicle, but by the time we got on the scene, they were crawling out of the vehicle, and everybody seemed to be okay.
The speed limit on Barfield is 40 miles an hour, isn't it? Until it gets down there between, down near Barfield Crescent and that section there where it changes to 25 I'm wondering if we ought to look into.
I've already looked into it.
That's Sheriff Arnold's field. He
Yeah.
gonna fire his own right citations.
I know, but if we recommended they check it out on Barfield itself, maybe it should
I've
be
already,
taken.
when that, not going into some details, but whenever the wreck happened earlier, I spoke, when we got the guardrail put up out there, I spoke to the highway superintendent concerning that matter, because that's in my commissioner district, and I had a lot of questions asked about the speed limit. Really and truly, they're not abiding by it now.
Yeah.
And at 40 miles an hour. And he didn't think it would even help to reduce it, because if it's 35 or 30, the biggest problem out there is speeding. And then when it comes to shower, it's like it makes it even slicker out there for some reason. So I've already said something to the superintendent of highway department, and he doesn't think it'll do any good.
But to answer your question, Commissioner, yeah, that's a problem area.
Well, my thoughts on it, maybe it won't do any good, but if the speed limit is lowered, and then maybe they'll only go 40, okay? That's what, if they realize that it's 30 or 35 is what it is, the speed limit is, that there might be something to that road. You know I travel that road quite a bit. I don't live anywhere near it. And sometimes, coming down through there, because it's a nice cutoff to get to where I'm going. But the thing is there's a lot of accidents.
There's a lot of accidents on there. I agree with you 100% on that.
All right, we'll let it go till next time.
Larry, I noticed you were doing the pumper test. Do you check with the other departments and the volunteer departments to see if they are maintaining their yearly pumper tests that they have to do?
Yeah, they're supposed to do their pump test every year, and they're supposed to give me a report on that, and also report that they've tested their hose and that they're maintaining their equipment.
Are you getting that from all over?
I have got it last year. I need to request it this year. I haven't requested it this year. But I know for the most part, a lot of them will notify me when they'll say, hey, the certain truck's going to be out of service. We're going to be pump testing that truck at Kittrell. And I think Allenville goes to Smyrna because of the distance.
Yeah.
But other than that, most of them, you go out to Kittrell and do their pump test. And of course, if any of them have trouble and need assistance, we'd be glad to, some of our guys go out there and help them pump test them. But we did a class last year. One of the TFAC instructors did a class on pumps, and pretty much showed there was people in every department, and showed them how to do the pump test, give them all the paperwork and everything, how to do that. But like I say, if they have any trouble, all I got to do is ask for help.
So none of these frontline pumpers we've got are having any problems meeting the pump requirements that you know of?
Not so far. That's the pump's not really the problems.
Okay.
Anybody else? If not, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
If you notice, I also have a budget amendment. If you remember on my report, engine 102, which is the 2000 pumper that the county bought, the ECM, which is the main computer, went out on it, and I've attached the bill to that. For the cost of that, it was $2,624 for that truck, and then once we got it back in service, my guy one of my captains over fleet notified me Wednesday that the transmission had went out on 101. That's $5,806.92, and I wanted to transfer $7,500 out of data processing, which I'm not using since I'm still in the EMA building, to vehicle maintenance. Now that we only had $9,000 in our maintenance line item this first year. I've got 18 pieces of equipment now, and with that said, once these two bills are paid, there will be nothing left in my vehicle maintenance budget. So I'm just trying to get some money moved around to pay for these two trucks.
You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the budget request.
Is there a motion, and was there a second? And a second, okay. Our discussion.
If you're not gonna have many money left in your vehicle maintenance budget for the rest of the year, we got good 3 months, 4 months to go. To me, these trucks are gonna continue to break down. You gotta do oil changes. It's gonna have to come from somewhere.
Well, the old two truck is 10 years old, and the old one trucks are 20 years old, and I've got 3 of each.
When this budget was done last year, I remember speaking to the mayor, and I told him 9,000 wasn't even anywhere close. And this next year's budget, at last public safety meeting, I told him that the budget that he put in there for maintenance wasn't anywhere close. To me, it seems to me I'm proving my point with that. We need to put that money in that budget because we don't need to do like the judicial building over here and do deferred maintenance. You can't do deferred maintenance to these trucks because that puts a lot of liability on the county. You know, we roll a fire engine out there and somebody gets seriously hurt or injured and it's a maintenance issue, the county's 100% liable. So we need to make sure we fund these repairs as needed. We don't need to defer maintenance on them. So we need to look at that too, in addition to funding your motion here. We need to find that money to get you the maintenance on these trucks.
Well, Commissioner, I don't foresee the county not doing any maintenance on them. What I see is when the maintenance comes up, if he needs the money to do maintenance on the fire engines, come back up here and ask us for it.
No, we don't need to wait either because that puts the county in a bad situation waiting a month or two to get these trucks fixed when they need to be on the road and in service.
I don't think nobody will wait a month or two to get something fixed. I think if something happens, I think it'll be taken care of immediately.
Well, after I pay for these two bills right here, I won't have anything in that budget.
But if something comes up,
Well, by the time I come to public safety and run through public safety and the budget, and then full commission, you're looking at about a month.
so you're going to have to wait till you can get it fixed.
Well, I mean, once I get this, if y'all approve this tonight, that will pay those two bills, it's tax this, and then there's nothing left.
So
That's what I'm saying.
but as an ending fund balance, or other areas of your budget, you could come back and ask for another.
It's getting pretty tight.
This budget was, Kevin Lauer, the fire consultant, said we needed $200,000 extra on the budget last year when the county created this department, and it was cut. He's short.
Basically, my budget was, this budget right here was basically 4 departments combined together, which was $120,000 plus the $285 or what it was for the county fire department. So, I mean, basically what I had was right at $120,000.
So do we need to put more money in this line item?
Well, I'm gonna need something between now and July. Because like I say, once I pay these two bills, and they're waiting to this money, they're not gonna rebuild the transmission until I get the PO pulled. And once that pulled, then they'll fix the transmission. So 101's down right now. And then once these two bills are paid, then that line item is 0.
Right, looking
Now,
at
the rescue trucks are still being covered under EMS to July 1st. But if I have anything as far as fire apparatus go down, it'll be down to July 1st.
it look like to me need to ask for more money.
I'd make a recommendation that Larry meets with the mayor, then reports back to us next month, and we make adjustments to whatever they come up with.
Okay.
After they show it to us, we'll see what needs there are. You know, in the meanwhile, if there is something, you know, of course, contact the mayor right away, and, you know, you can get a hold of us through Gary. So if there's an
Well,
emergency,
basically,
we'll
we're having to utilize this company right here because, I mean, as far as regular maintenance, oil change, stuff like that, we can do it downstairs, but what we try to do is the preventative maintenance in the fall and the spring because they can't get those trucks inside the building. So they have to do it up under the awning. So we try to do it in the fair weather where they'll have to lay on the ground and change that. So, but basically, that's about all they can do down there.
If something goes down between now and when this here goes to budget committee, call me and I'll give you permission to go ahead and carry any extra you need to go to budget and request.
Okay.
But shouldn't he, maybe just look into the budget he's got now and request more than just, if he's got it in to
He just said,
request-
he just said he didn't
Like I
have
say,
any.
I started out with like 120,000, so that was the first year for departments, so it was pretty slim to start with. And like I say, I got 20 pieces of apparatus, counting brush units and all that stuff.
Well,
So I mean, it's,
let me ask the
Mary
committee
Web
this.
don't taste good if you spread it real thin.
Do we need to, actually increase an additional amount of money and take it out of unforeseen, undesignated fund balance, or what?
I think that's what Commissioner P was saying. He might go to the mayor and find out what we need out of the unfund balance to, when you tell the mayor to have the unfund balance figure out the amount they need and then bring it back to us next month for, is that what you
Is
were?
that what you're talking about?
Right, I'd rather sit down with him since, you know, he's working on this year's budget too. You know, we've already looked at it and, you know, I've got some of the same concerns Commissioner beside me does too on, as far as, you know, having enough money in that line item. So, but I'd rather you go through the mayor than back to
Okay.
us.
It's fine.
But if something happens between now and then, get with me and we can
That way I can go ahead and go to budget.
go ahead and budget. That way you want to come back
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
All right. Got a motion on the floor, right? Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Goodwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was under the impression that if we had an emergency situation, that the mayor could make a decision. Is that still the case? If we have emergency situation on these vehicles, can he make a decision without coming back to us?
I feel like he does. That's what I was getting at a while ago. If one of them fire engines goes down,
He can make a decision.
the mayor can make a decision with a department head and get that fire engine back up and then come back here, you know. They're gonna have to wait.
That's what I thought.
You know, that's where I was going a while ago when I said that, you know, we're not gonna let that fire engine sit out there and not be fixed, you know, because we're gonna get it fixed and we're gonna put it back in service and we're going to protect the citizens.
Emergency situation going to budget, the mayor can go ahead and approve getting that vehicle fixed and getting it back on the road and just give us a copy of the report that what was done.
Right. Emergency management.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I already gave you a copy of my report. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. Excuse me. One of those things is we've been pretty active doing some training and trying to put on training. And we've done 2 16-hour classes in this last report period. We had 4 classes scheduled, but had to cancel 2 because we didn't get enough applicants for those classes. I'm very happy to say that most of our students have come from the volunteer side right now, and it was a hazardous material basic concept class and hazardous material concept implementation class that we did have, and they were night classes. And most of them were all volunteer firefighters that came to that, and I'm very happy to see that. But unfortunately, we did have to cancel 2 day classes because we didn't have enough applicants for it. We also had the plane crash on March 11th. Everybody's aware of, I'm sure. And I'd like to make this, take this opportunity to say the excellent job that the town of Smyrna did in responding and managing that scene. It was in the fire chief or Smyrna Fire was in command of that accident, and they did an excellent job in keeping people out and controlling it. It was a great job. Glad to see it. And we have a bid opening on the Tiger Hill Tower coming at April 12th. And so I'm glad to see the progress there and getting things moving on the new communication system. I'm hoping once that tower starts, things will be moving a lot quicker, but we're doing everything we can. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Roger?
Mr. Howard?
Yes, sir.
On the UASI grants, where are we at on those? I see you still got a 2008 UASI grant, and I know some of that stuff's out of your control. I was just wondering where we're at on getting those things taken care of so we can get the other ones taken care of.
Well, we're working on the 2009 as well, and I believe we've even done a couple items out of the 2010. The 2008 grant will be wound down at the end of June. We're hoping to have it completed way before then, but there's other things that have to happen before some of that money can be obligated, and so we have to wait for these things to fall into place. At no time are we holding off and say, no, don't submit your stuff. If it's something that is an authorized purchase, we're trying to work on it to get it done. I will say there has been some delays in working some of the critical things in the 08 grant because of the oncoming deadline on it, but we're trying to move with all of them as quickly as we can.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drug court, don't see her. Juvenile detention report. And got it on the table.
Good evening. I have also gone ahead and passed out my report for you. There is not anything of great interest in this month's report. It's going to be for February, but if you have any questions, I will happily answer those for you.
Anybody have any questions for Lynn? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do I have a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion is carried.
I also have two budget amendments in front of you. Probably need to take them separate. The first one that you have should be for $3,725. That is from within our budget, and it's coming from two separate line items and going into 499. And that's just to be able to have sufficient funding in that line item for the remainder of the year.
Okay. You can go ahead and do the next one. You'll be
Okay.
fine with
And
that.
then the second one that you have in front of you is not from my line item. It is from the county's gasoline line item, and it's just to have enough funding for gasoline for the remainder of the year.
You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, to have a second? And a second. Our discussion on the motion on the floor. Hearing or seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch? Yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Teague?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you.
Sheriff's Department report, and then also we got the budget request. And I think, hold on, we got that. Thank you. Good evening.
Got a few amendments here to start with, so I'll just start off with that part first. As listed, you see on there the data processing services account and the gasoline account. We're going to move roughly $45,000 out of that account and into our communications account, which is running deficient. Communications line items, one that's got all the phone lines, fax lines, all of our cell phones, everything like that. So I think when we first came on board back in September, I think we moved funds out of that line item. Now we're putting some funds back. So we've got that coming in. We also have a request. We had some recycled material that came through, and that money has come from the, has been deposited in the general fund. We're now asking that to go back into the repair and maintenance of our building on the jail side. Under the continuing government services, that was money that came in from SWAT school registration, and we're wanting to put those funds from the city of Laverne. We want to put those funds into our in-service training line item. And then there was an event through the Murfreesboro Housing Authority. It's the Community Anti-Drug Coalition. There's an event that they had. We had some overtime that was billed to that. They sent some funds back in to cover our overtime, so we want to put that money back into our overtime expense. Then on page 2, number 5. We had as part of the towers, there was a voter, I guess it's like a repeater or something, that was out in the county that got struck by lightning back during one thunderstorm about a month and a half ago. And, you know, since we don't have property insurance, there's a $100,000 deductible, I believe, with our insurance for the county. So we're wanting these funds to come from the undesignated balance to cover our charge for that, since we didn't have money set aside for that. And then we're going to pull $15,000 out of the gasoline fund to prisoner transport for extraditions. And so those are the amendments we have for tonight.
Anybody have any questions?
What tower was this that was struck by lightning?
There's the one out in Las Casas.
One out last cast, sir. And we had to get Jim and I to come out and repair it on an emergency basis. So we went ahead and cut a purchase order for it out of one of our line items.
That doesn't normally come out of the emergency management's budget?
No, we said that it come out of ours.
They said it came out of ours, yeah.
We paid for it, and we asked for the money back. So that
It was the SO's
it was
repeater.
our voter.
It was one of our voters.
It was one of our voters. It wasn't
Okay.
Is there a motion on the request?
We don't have anywhere else we can pull other than undesignated funds to get that $13,000 for that repair?
Well, possibly. I mean, I can go back and look at it again if you'd like for me to. I was under the impression that normally that's the process you go about. It's kind of like having, property insurance. And when you got a deductible, it's got to come from somewhere, and I understand that. Just talking to Lisa, it was a matter of that you had a $100,000 deductible, county self-insured, and she said $100,000 deductible, and I said, where does the money come from then to pay for it?
Yeah,
Somebody's
that's
got to
on
cover
the
the deductible.
structure.
So that's kind of why we went that route. It's something she and I talked about, and so.
So she said to go ahead and use the undesignated
Yes, sir.
fund balance, or
Yeah.
unassigned fund balance, I guess is what it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the fund, or the budget amendments as requested.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. All right, discussion.
I'll be willing to vote for this until it comes to budget, but if you would, please look and see if there's something in your budget that we could take this out of.
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else? Call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Pease?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. On the,
And then other than that, I've got our account balances as usual, that we normally turn into you guys and let you have a look at. We're still running pretty well ahead on most of our account balances. We're doing well on keeping the overtime down as usual. Even with the comp time buybacks that we've had, we still seem to be doing pretty good on that amount. We're way ahead in gasoline, which is good. And that's why we pulled some of that money out of the fuel account even with fuel going up, it seems like we're still doing fairly well on that.
Everybody looks over the report here. When everybody feels like they've seen enough on it, I'll need a motion. Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I've got a couple of things that you're going to start seeing in the future that I wanted to let y'all know about. One thing I was just going to let you know, right now in the jail, as of this morning, at 687 inmates total. That's male and female. We are seeing a decline, and the state is starting to take some from us. Governor Haslam is projected on taking about 2,000 inmates across the state. When Brushy Mountain opens, or that facility that's out there next to it, we could see a dramatic decrease in the state inmates within our facility. When we do, even though it costs us about $52 a day to house a state inmate, the county reimburses us, or the state reimburses us $34. So when the state starts doing that, you're going to see a decrease in that fund. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on that. Also, I didn't bring copies for each and every one of you. I'll be glad to pass this around. We have started a new program of getting into the 21st century. In January, we had a total of 23 burglaries in the county area. And I've got a map and I've got addresses, and I'll pass this to you if you'd like to see it, especially if it was in your district. In February, there was 41. So we're starting to map these things and starting to see where we're at. One thing that we did when we took office was we pulled one officer off of each shift and a supervisor and created a crime suppression unit. And so they get these maps and they go and they try to work in these areas to try to do anything they can to cut down on the crime in those areas. So I want to step forward. I'll give y'all, I'll pass one way and the other. Y'all pass it back and forth. Y'all can look at those maps and see.
While you're talking about burglaries, I want to commend, I don't know who the officer was, or officers, but the Riverdale subdivision is in my district. And I know the people that they were broken in on, and they were at home. And on behalf of that family, I want to thank your department and the officers for the job well done.
Well, they're doing an excellent job of taking these burglars off the street. We had one the other morning, 5:30 in the morning. I still can't figure out why someone was doing up that early.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, and there was actually another one off the factory. Yes. I was on my way out to Kittrell Ham Breakfast and ended up going out there and helped work that one.
I think this other one happened at 5:30 in the morning too.
So, yeah, I mean, they're happening all the time, different places, and they don't care age or anything like that. They'll do it. Another thing you're going to start seeing, and I think this is in your packet for the budget, but we're going to start doing a lot of graphs. These are for the overtime stuff, so it's a little easier for you to see. You can look at it, and it'll show you where we are, how much was spent, but then it'll also break it down into what was done in comp time buyback and what was actually done in overtime. So you'll start seeing these, some other neat little stuff we're going to start adding into our monthly events with y'all.
I guess now we can go ahead and do your budget.
I'd like to ask the sheriff a question.
Yes, sir.
Supposing you live in a city and a burglary happens and it happens to you, okay, and you call 911, they figure it just happened, they may be still around or whatever, but can you request, as well as the city police, for the sheriff officer the deputy to come by?
You can request, we service all citizens of the county.
Mm-hmm.
We primarily let the city officers handle the city, but if you don't believe that you're getting the services that you believe you ought to get, you can always call the sheriff's office and we'll be glad to come out at any time, anywhere.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, we'll start the wish list.
The Air Force, we used to call it a dream sheet.
Dream sheet, that's right.
course, everybody got a binder, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I can go down to the budget, or you can talk about the grant first. You want to do that under new business? Okay. All right. So, first page, mission statement of the Sheriff's Department. I don't know if you guys have read that or seen that before or not, but the mission of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office is to provide high-quality law enforcement and correction services with excellence, consistently employing efficiency, training, and professionalism, while adhering to the values of honesty, openness, and ethical integrity and responsibility of the people of Rutherford County. And that's the creed that we go by. The next page, I went ahead and gave you the good news, which is the revenue side. We've got Service Process Commission, which is about $150,000. Every year we have a training grant that comes from 9/11 Communications Board, so that's usually $24,000 to train our dispatchers. There is a grant position that we're in this upcoming budget will be year 2 of 3, so we know we're getting that, so that's the $41,780. State of Tennessee inmate reimbursement. I looked at the history on those numbers. They were $350, averaging a month back in 08, 09. It continued until pretty much the beginning of 2010. Then it dropped dramatically last year. Got as low as $130 a month on average. It has since bounced back. December was $225. January was about $240. So we didn't know that it seems to be trending somewhere a little over $200. So we were going to go with $200 for right now, and that's kind of our estimate for the year. We do know that, and of course, depending on what the governor does, and we'll have to adjust it from there. The pay supplements that the officers get in every year, there's $119,400. There's going to be a few more officers that are certified this year. That's why that figure has gone up. Drug fund will have a revenue. They're estimating around $373,800. The TBI background fees that we get will be about $24,000. Sex offender registry, $18,000. Every year, the Murfreesboro Police Department sends us $25,000 for the fingerprint machine. The commissary, we went with $180,000. I think that figure may be low. We maybe get more this year. Our commissary is going to, the commissions on that are starting to kind of pick up quite a bit. We, sheriff's added a few additional items for them to buy, and they seem to be buying them, which is a good thing.
Let me also add one thing into that. If you remember back in October, we were having the issue with Keith about that there was basically we might owe them some money, and we did. We owed it to them. They projected it was going to take a little over a year to pay it off. With some additional food items added onto the commissary, we should have it paid off by next month instead of 6 months from now. So we did get that taken care of, and I think probably at the end of next month you'll start seeing revenues come back in from inmate commissary. So I just want to let you know about that.
That ends up being quite a few dollars on a yearly basis. The state of Tennessee does reimburse us for some inmate medical charges, especially the state inmates. And so we have, and it's a percentage. So far for this year, I think we billed out like $160,000. We have seen a $60,000 check come back in on that. So that's why we put $60,000 in there for next year. And the phone commissions are quite hefty. It's about $250,000. Those are actually trending upwards as well. We're also working on a new inmate phone system that may even increase that amount as well. They'll have better communication. And then the Social Security is when an inmate comes in, and the Social Security funds that they would normally get if they were not incarcerated, those funds then get turned into us instead. So Sheriff's Department gets those. So as a total, that's $3,770,380. So that's kind of what we're estimating as incoming revenue for next year. And more than likely, I've forgotten something, so hopefully it'll be even better. Try to be as thorough as I could.
Joe, if you would.
Yes, sir.
When we get into these special budgeted,
yes,
like special patrols, let's take one at a time.
Be glad to.
That way we can make a recommendation and a motion.
Okay. That'd be great.
Separately. That way, instead of doing them all at one time, we can do them individually.
The special patrols is the lake patrol. It used to be night watchman, but it truly is lake patrol. Do you mean do them by line item or just a budget total, or?
Really and truly, whatever the committee wants to do here, you can tell us what last year's was and what you're requesting. I mean, especially these right here, this is federal money that's coming in, right?
We actually get reimbursed from the Corps of Engineers on this. So it's basically a pass-through. Last year, we billed $39,757. We actually bill it to the Corps of Engineers, I believe, on a monthly basis during the summer, then they reimburse us whatever we bill. And we give them a copy of this budget as well, so they do know what to expect, what's coming. This year, we figured with the added cost, we're going to bill somewhere in the neighborhood of about $58,977.
All right. You've heard the request from the department on this, and like we said, it's basically a pass-through federal money. Is there any questions on this budget, on special patrol? Don't hear any questions. Is there a recommendation or a motion?
Can we just go through and just go through really slowly and ask questions as we go? And not vote on every single one?
Well, each one of these budgets
We have to vote on each one.
are separate. Like they've got the drug fund, they got the sexual registry
Okay.
fund, they've got special patrols, they got the jail side, they got
Okay.
patrol side, so we
So
really
we've
need.
got to vote on each one?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to vote.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Our discussion on this. Hearing or seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next budget is the administration of sex offender account. It's our, it's basically a database management type, is the way it is. We have an officer that goes out and makes a lot of calls and checks on people and things of that nature. It's become a more proactive approach to keeping track of sex offenders and things of that nature. They've also got to come in once, I think it's once a year, and re-register with a database.
And they're adding more and more mandates on us about
Yeah.
training and stuff like that.
So this budget here, originally it wasn't very much. Last year it was $7,100. The department manager has asked for $8,600 this year. And this, as is, it truly is an unfunded mandate.
But doesn't he, when they have to register, they have to pay a fine, a fee or whatever? And that's where this money comes from,
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's
And,
no tax dollars being spent?
That is
on-
correct.
On this?
That is correct.
Do you collect enough to pay for it from
Yes,
this?
sir. Yes, sir.
You do?
Yes.
Actually.
We're
Okay.
projecting 18,000 for next year.
And with the additional unfunded mandates they keep throwing at you, you have to get more training. That's kind of where the increases have come from, is the increased training for that officer.
If you go back to the beginning, you see the 6 student registry brings in 18,000.
Right.
And this line item, we're asking for 18,000.
Right.
Okay.
Is there any questions on this budget? Hearing- Got a motion, do we have a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next 2 pages basically cover 3 grants that are coming to an end and are not funded for next year. They were still part of the packet that I was handed to confirm. So I'll read through this just so it kind of makes a little bit of sense when we go over the other ones. But the Domestic Violence Investigator Grant, Stop Era 3743. There's a position that's in CID, and those funds end at the end of April. There was, I believe, in last year's budget, when this was agreed to, that we were going to pull funding from our payroll to cover these positions through the end of the budget year, and after that, that was it. So that's fund number 1. And that'll be fund, let's see, this is for, this is for the 58804 budget, which would be after these. So these are not funded. There's no grant funds for these 2011, 2012. But I'm presenting them anyway, just to let you guys know. The next one is the local jail reentry program. This is the one that's shared with the workhouse. So there's one position over there, and there's one position in the sheriff's office. As again, these were part of the ERA grants. There's no funds for this past April. We're going to cover these. We're going to cover these payrolls through the end of this budget year as well. That will be for 58803. And that's not funded for next year, so that one's gone.
That's not funded for next year?
No, sir.
That, the domestic violence is not funded for next year?
No, sir.
We'll get into that.
And that's a good key position to have. I'd like to find a way to continue that, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the domestic violence investigator, which is 58805, I'm sorry, let me back up. Yeah, the domestic violence investigator, that one's not funded either. There's a position through CID. Was that the one I already covered? Okay, I'm sorry.
The last one is a grant position.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that's the one that's.
2013, it's a recurring grant.
Yeah.
More than likely, the feds, because of the way it's through, I believe the burn grant or something, one of the grants that it'll probably be renewed.
This one, though, here does not have a separate budget line item. It's been in the 54110, and so I'll show you when we get to that one. Now, the 58805.
Joe, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, sir.
Is number 3 the same as number 1?
No, they're.
No, sir. They're two separate people.
But we have a position on each.
Yes.
So there's 2 investigators?
There's 2 domestic violence investigators with, the first one, her position is a 1-year position. There's some question over whether it was gonna be renewed. I think it was under the impression that there was never any actual, anything wrote down about it. But, the third one is a, grant position that will, last another year, and more than likely, from what I've been told, it's one that the feds will keep renewing every so often. But the first one is a domestic violence investigator, and her position technically ends July 1.
How many do you have out there now? Is it only 2?
Domestic violence, I
D-
think
dom-
it's 2 or 3.
5?
5, sorry. One supervisor.
And they're all on grant?
No, no, the rest of them have been absorbed. The county, we've got them through grants, but the county has always absorbed them and kept them on.
How many, and I know we probably get into this after a while, but how many domestic violence cases come through the sheriff's office? 438.
Any other questions? Next page is talking about the Justice Assistant Grant. This is a joint one through the Murfreesboro Department. Murfreesboro Police is administering it. And that's for technology. So we've been getting our increased hard drive capacity in the cars for the video. There's also been video arraignment installed in Judge Bragg's office for video arraignment. And then we've been purchasing AR-15s for our officers. And the interesting thing is the AVL tracking, which is we're putting rocket modems in the cars. We're able to get locations on the cars themselves. That's pretty. It's a pretty impressive system. And then let's see, this one, the Era Recovery JAG grant for 2009 is actually coming to an end as well, and those funds will be expended. That is budget 58805, and so those funds, we didn't show any continuing funds. The the amended budget for 2010-11 is $92,795. Those will be gone by the end of this budget year. I think we roughly have about $4,000 left in that one. And so they've been buying the rocket modems and the GPS units and things of that nature. So that's it for the grants, on the grant side. Any other questions on those?
Make any questions?
No?
Able to
Keep
not?
going? Okay. The next budget's fold out. It's 54,150 is our drug enforcement. The longevity pay has decreased a little bit from the prior year, $300.
I just mean, I think,
Oh, go ahead.
it's a fold out, I think is what he said on over.
Fold out, yeah. Okay. So the longevity pay has decreased a little bit from the year before, of 2010, 2011. Overtime pay, we've cut that 25,000. Salaries and wages have gone up just a little bit. Those are for 5 salaried positions at this point. We were talking with the mayor that he was maybe willing to consider. Yeah.
He has considered absorbing one into the general fund of these positions that are funded through the NARC budget. And the other 5 we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Right now, that's the mayor's recommendation. When we talked to him, he talked about maybe absorbing one.
These salaries and wages, I will say, are wiping out this account quickly.
How many, there's 5 positions now, or that's what you?
There's 6 positions at
Six.
this time. Yeah.
Now, 2 sergeants and then the rest
Okay.
are patrol officers, or actually the ICE units out on the interstate, and narcotics detectives are being paid out of this fund.
So actually, these 5 different additional positions are, they're not, they're the ICE units.
These are officers that have been with the department for years. Their budget, I guess, way back at one point, the county commission couldn't fund some positions, and so it was brought through the budget process, and that's when the drug fund was up over $1 million, and they created these positions, and they put them here in the drug fund. Over the few years, the drug fund has been going down. You could say they're a victim of their own success. They're not out there seizing as much money anymore. The drug dealers are getting smarter. They're not transporting large amounts of money like they used to, and so naturally we're not seizing it. And so basically this year is the last year that this drug fund will be able to fund these positions, because next year there won't be enough money in the drug fund to fund narcotics or ICE out on the interstate. So I'll get into the other 5 positions in a couple of another budget here in just a minute.
So right now, what you're saying is the county, you've got in here for the 2011-12 that the county is going to pick up somewhere in there. The county is going to pick up the additional 100,000 basically for these people.
The drug fund will pick it up. I'm going to ask you in the sheriff's office side, out of the dream request for the county to pick up all of it out of the drug fund in the next budget. But right now, we're showing it in this budget, because this is where they're getting paid for right now.
Okay.
So this budget here, for the $836,983, has got those 5 positions in it.
Yes, sir. Those 5 positions.
But what you're wanting to do later on is take those 5 positions and put them into another.
What I'm going to ask you here in just a minute is, instead of having these 5 positions that are being paid through the NARC fund, if we could move them into the general fund and no longer fund them from the NARC fund, fund them from the general fund. It'll be an added increase to the general fund, and it will take them out of the NARC fund, and we can, the NARC fund will start growing again. Right now, the NARC, these 5 positions, or 6 positions, have almost killed the narcotics fund, and so therefore, within the next year, we will not have any narcotics officers or ICE officers in the county.
So if we don't approve that in the general fund, those 5 positions will...
They'll be funded in the NARC fund for this year.
For this upcoming budget year.
And next year, when we do all this again, I will tell you that we will be cutting our narcotics division and our ICE division. We will no longer, and we'll be laying off 6 people, or 5 people.
Okay.
Okay, so just supposedly that these positions wind up getting funded in the general fund, what happens to the money that is collected in the drug fund?
The drug fund is a fund that the sheriff's office has. This isn't anything that say that can be used for, like, it can't go to the general fund. This also has to be used for narcotics, funding the fight on war of drugs.
It will help this fund to survive longer and not be wiped out as soon, so that they can still fund other items.
We use this money also to do reverse drug stings.
Mhm.
As you can see, we used it to buy 5 new canines for the sheriff's office to help these officers do things. We also use it to buy vehicles for narcotics. We use it for partial paying the rent on the narcotics building, because those officers can't be at the sheriff's office when we don't have space for them. So there's lots of different things that come out of this drug fund.
You keep going?
You still on the drug enforcement budget?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Unless you're done?
Okay. I guess the reason I was asking that question was, we probably don't need to make a motion
on this one.
On this one.
Okay.
Until we hear what
The
your
other.
request is on the other, and that way a recommendation can be made.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, the other issues that are left on the 54-150 account would be that they're just wanting to purchase some additional in that gray area down there, some equipment they're wanting to purchase out of that account, but we'll move on to the next one. So if you go to the next fold out, I printed these off large, so they're easy to read. Okay, this is for the jail side.
This one here will not have anything to do with the drug fund.
That is correct, sir. Yeah, that'll come last. We left the maintenance personnel budget the same as last year. Part-time, kept it the same. Longevity pay, basically just went up just a little bit because they've been there longer. Overtime, we wanted to increase by $5,000. We didn't run short on the overtime budget, and we have moved $5,000 into that budget for this year. So we're at $125. So that's why we're requesting $125. We think that'll cover us for the rest of this year. We should be in good shape. The figure you see for salaries and wages does have the step increases in there for this year. In-service training is going to be going up because there's going to be more accreditation training going on. We're going to try and get the jail facility accredited, which will help on our liability insurance costs. So there'll be more training that goes in there, so we're going to bump that training budget up quite a bit. Of course, with the payroll increases, you'll have the increases in your Social Security and retirement, employee independent insurance, disability insurance will go up a little bit. Unemployment compensation. Unemployment is an item that has not been tracked before. Mayor's office requested that we start tracking those and adding a separate line item for that. They wanted to break that down per department. I don't know if the other departments have proposed those in their budgets or not, but we were requested to do so. Of course, we do have 500 people working for us. So we added a line item in there for that. The $15,000 we think will cover it for the year. That's kind of a little bit over and above what we had this year. Employee Medicare, of course, part of the payroll increases. Advertising didn't change. Dues and memberships did not change. Maintenance agreements, those remain the same. We did increase, as many of you came out and took the tour on we were going to tell you that when we got to this year's budget, that we were going to increase our maintenance budget as much as we could. The department wanted to double it. We were just trying to be conservative and only go to $200,000 instead of $250,000. So that's just kind of so we can get some more preventive maintenance programs put in place to maintain the facility a little bit better. Let's see, maintenance repair of equipment. They're basically just asking for a few extra $1,000 in that line item because of the equipment is getting older at the facility, and so we just expect more repair costs. Printing stationery and forms remain the same. Transport, that's for extraditions. That's always they always ask for $50,000 every year, and of course, you know, we just recently are adding $15,000 to that budget as well for this year. Other contracted services. This is with Dr. Rudd. His budget was $3,192,960 last year. We've had a discussion with him. If we go to accreditation, he's been doing some research on that as well as we have. He is at the end of his contract. So at the end of this year, his 3-year contract is now up for renewal. We're very pleased with his service. He's done a great job. He has managed that department very well. He's kept his costs down. I don't think we've had any lawsuits that really count to anything since he's taken over.
He's actually been able to get some prisoners out of there.
Right.
And keep the taxpayers from having to pay the medical bills.
Right.
For different types of illness.
And I will say, we asked him to start doing the DUI testing for us. So he's covered that at no extra cost. He's also, we've set up an intake medical facility, so as soon as somebody comes in the door, we're able to do an intake on them very quick, which gets those inmates out faster, especially if they have they're going to cost us a lot of money on health issues, so.
And if they belong to the cities, they're the ones that have to take them back out, and they're the ones that have to incur the cost.
They're the ones that have to bear the cost.
Instead of the cities dropping them off at our table, and then once they make it out the door, they're ours, and we have to pay for it.
Yeah, so he's being very proactive in that, that area to make sure that we save as much money as possible. He's asking for a 5% increase. Now, that is as long as this department is not accredited. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make you aware that in the future, probably 2012-13 budget or maybe beyond, whenever the department does become accredited, he's going to need 10% over the $3,192,000. Now, the reason for that is that he will have to have RNs only on his staff. Right now, he's using med techs and LPNs, which you can do by law. But when you become an accredited facility, you must use RNs for all your nursing staff. So he's going to incur a lot of extra costs. And I believe he has, 30 or 40 nurses that work for him right now.
But by doing that, does that help on our liability?
That greatly increases. It'll make it go down well beyond the extra money he's asking for.
It's the same thing with what they're going to be doing at the workouts, with the accreditation program.
But what you're saying is he's asking for a 5% increase
Yes,
over
sir.
this year,
Yes, sir.
coming year, over
Right.
the $3,192,000.
Right.
But the next year, if he happens to be, if he's accredited.
If we ask him to be accredited.
10% over, so it'd be another,
No,
well,
it'd be another
it'd be
5
another
it'll be another
5%. It'd be
5% on
less than
top of this year's
5% more, right?
You know,
Right.
he'll get 5%, he wants 5% this year, and then if it gets approved, and then next year comes around, and if we are accredited by that time, he's gonna need another 10%.
Well, it'll be 10% on the 3,192 for this figure. That's what I based it on.
So it's really going to be a less
Yeah.
of an increase
Yeah.
than this coming year's would be.
Right.
Because 5% of 3,192 is going to add some to it. and
Well, no, but it's still going to be based off the 3,192.
Two,
Yeah. So it'll still be a bargain. Now, he has not gone up on his money at all in the past 3 years. So I think we can all attest, we've all seen costs go up quite a bit in the past 3 years. He's weathered a little bit of a storm there. So he came to me and asked, he asked for a little bit more, and I've kind of bargained him down already a little bit. So anyway, that's his department request.
Is his fee based upon numbers, or what is his fee based on?
That's a flat rate. If we have
Flat rate.
1,000 people there, or we have 200,
Okay.
that's what he charges. And no matter what the cases are, if we bring in somebody and it makes it through and he's got HIV, I mean, he covers the cost of all that, medication and everything.
He also does go and haggle with the hospitals
Mhm.
to get down the bills. Even when we send inmates out, he'll go through the bill line by line, and he'll haggle with them over the cost of the bill, and he'll save us quite a bit of money.
I remember before we had this program in place, it was every 2 or 3 months, sheriff's office up here, doing budget requests for additional monies in dental and medical bills coming in there.
I have to say, it's a well-managed department. I'm impressed with his
He also
facility.
negotiates
Yeah.
with the hospitals when we have to send there.
Yes, sir.
And he can do it where you guys probably yourselves wouldn't have that much success with.
Probably not.
He knows the lingo.
He knows the lingo, that's right. Custodial supplies is, we basically left that alone for this year. The department didn't feel like they needed extra money. Recently we just went through the bid process on several custodial supplies through the purchasing committee. And so we think that those costs may actually come down, so we may not need that much money this year, but we kind of need to get into it first. So we're asking for 1 year at the same budget amount as we had last year. Data processing supplies is basically asked for $19,000 instead of $18,900. They just rounded up. Food preparation, they feel like that with just the additional extra cost on everything seems to be going up. So they're asking for another $3,000 there.
That also adds in Cisco, who is our food provider, is now charging us a delivery fee, and they're doing it to everybody. We can't get out of it. We can't go pick our groceries up ourselves. but it's like a $15, $20 delivery fee for just bringing the groceries out to us.
Line item 422 was 900,000 last year. We've reduced that 111,000 with all the items that we pulled off the menu that we were giving the inmates, that we now have put into commissary, which is what's up the commissary income.
Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise.
Yep.
Salt, pepper.
So that's why that's gone down. Let's see, law enforcement supplies is just the increase in cost of supplies. Office supplies is the same. Periodicals, I didn't have anybody come back with any requests on that, so I dropped that one completely. Prisoner clothing has remained the same. Uniforms, we have bumped that up just a little bit because we're switching to the wool poly, I believe, on some of the uniforms.
This is the inmate stuff.
Was this it? Well, that's not on uniforms. Is that inmate uniforms?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So the inmate uniforms. And interestingly enough, we're seeing costs go up everywhere. Cotton has doubled in price lately, so, even T-shirts at Sam's Clubs are going up. So, we're expecting increases on that. Our utilities budget, we left the same this year. And I've got utility information at the back of this report that you can you can see the yearly trends. So that's another 625,000. No, right here. 625. Other supplies and materials, I had one department request an additional $500, so that's now rounded up to $5,000 instead of $4,500. Building improvements. The $275 from last year was to put in camera system for the jail. That project is moving forward, will be installed, and those funds will be expended before the end of this budget year. So for the next year, for the first installment of what we're requesting to be a 5-year project plan, which you'll see in your 5-year plan, we have a large number of locks that need to be replaced at the facility. So we're wanting to put in a replacement program, a repair program to make sure that the locking mechanisms on all the jail doors are going to be in compliance. You've got 1,000 people there, or roughly, was it 687, I think you said a few minutes ago, that, they have nothing else to do but work on a lock all day long. So they're sitting there trying to defeat these things, and they're chiseling at them and tearing them up. So we need a program to replace those. And we need to do this. So we requested $100,000 for this year. I'm going to come back and ask you for that same figure every year for the next 5 years. $50,000, we recently just went through a bid and replaced a compressor on one of the chillers not too long ago through the purchasing committee. So we're asking for $50,000 to start replacing at least working on the chillers. They're 12 to 13 years old. A lot of compressors in those are getting old and worn out, so we're asking for money for that on a annual basis. Communication equipment remain the same. Data processing equipment, we're going to start maintaining all of our IT equipment on site, so that we've asked for $60,000 for computers, software, whatever else that the jail needs for IT, things of that nature. Food service equipment, there was a request. She wanted to get a new tilt skillet and a new dishwasher, and she's going to replace a gas stove that they do not use back in the kitchen. So that's why that figure went up. There was a $41,000 request for that. Maintenance equipment, we're going to get us some, since we're going to have an increased maintenance program there at the jail, we're going to get some more equipment for the department to actually maintain all the facilities, so we can get floor buffers and ladders and tools and things of that nature. Let's see, office equipment was $5,000 increase, and other equipment was to put a washing machine in the laundry. There's 2 back there right now. I believe they're 20 years old, is that what she said? Or, I mean, they're really old.
One's about
Yeah, and so we're wanting to replace one of those. And back up to 719, I need to say we're going to get a new networking copier for the jail, especially the booking department. It's going to be networkable so that they can scan and things of that nature. Instead of having to have so many printers all over the place, I'd rather have a centralized copier that will do it all. So that's where we're at. And the total increases, if you look down the object code next to the explanation thing at the bottom, that's the increases, $248,470 over last year's budget. Total budget's $12,911,896. And so that's our requested increase for this year, for this department budget. Now, down below that, we have a request, which is where the description box is down there, and then it says category total at the bottom. Below that is just some requests that we'd like to ask for in consideration for this budget, if you'd like to consider that.
That's the wish list.
That's the wish list. So we've got 3% pay increase across the board for everybody that works for the jail. We'd like to add an HVAC maintenance person. We do have somebody in mind specifically for this that would be able to work on our systems. We believe that as much repair work as we have on our chillers, if we could have an on-site HVAC guy doing that work, we would no longer have to call out all the service work that we do now. So you'd actually have and especially with that facility, we think that that'd be a very strategic position to have. Somebody that's well-trained in that type of equipment.
Well, how much money would it save
Yes,
us
sir.
if we were to have that person?
Just one.
I'm talking about, if we just had that one person, how much would it save us in the budget to, in that line item?
That'd be a Jamie.
Last year, we spent $67,000 just on HVAC.
On service calls.
Is that just labor?
Just service calls, right?
Just service calls.
So if we were to hire this person at $44,000, and is that including benefits and
Yes, sir.
salary?
Yeah, that's benefits and insurance.
So-
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's one thing we talked with the mayor about, and the mayor kind of seemed positive about this, is, naturally, with this guy, we'd share with everybody, whoever needed him, if they needed him on the county side, building, we'd let him go wherever. But he could save the county a lot of money to have a person dedicated and trained in HVAC. It could save us up $15,000, $20,000 a year, roughly.
So if we were to put this position into place, we could subtract the other maintenance? Is that what you're saying?
Well, saying that over time, because we know that with our chillers and stuff, they're going to go down. They're old enough that they're starting to tear up and break down, and that's why we've had to have this guy come in so much. If we had this guy, then instead of paying a company to come in, we've had 3 or 4 different companies come in over the past few years, and we pay them for parts and for the personnel to come and do the work. We'd only be paying for the parts. And so therefore, and then also if he was needed, Ben Mankin needed him some help on the courthouse here or another building, we'd be glad to share him with whoever, wherever. So, totally, we're thinking just on the sheriff's office side could save some money, but yet it could save the county as a whole if he was all over the place, if he was helping out different areas. But then also, he could also help out with Jamie and them in the jail doing other maintenance stuff, but his specialty would be HVAC.
And we could reduce the 335 line item.
Yes, we spoke to the mayor about it. The mayor and I have sat down with all of us.
He didn't recommend that we would put someone like that under Ben Mankin's department, under maintenance?
He liked the HVAC guy. He did like that.
Under your department or under Ben Mankin's department?
Under our department, is where we were talking about it.
We'd have more use for them, I believe, because of those chillers are old, and they're a big system that we have out there. Of course, it's a big building to cool.
A couple of his days a week will be at the jail anyways, guaranteed.
Easily.
Doing
Oh,
something.
yeah. Especially with summer coming up. But as you were talking about earlier, the 335 account could be reduced to offset those costs, I believe. Okay.
Well, in line item 336, okay, that's maintenance and repair service of equipment.
Yeah.
Which I would assume the HVAC comes under equipment, or what I'm getting at is you got 50,000 there is what you're asking for, and yet we just heard that it was 65,000 in service calls for
The
that
chillers we
dispatch.
actually consider part of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, mainly that's a fixed asset, I guess. We'd also like to request board transport deputies.
Let me go.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like to me that actually you and the mayor have still got other meetings coming up.
Well, we go from here. The mayor wasn't here tonight.
Right.
And I told him not to worry. We'd handle it, take care of it. And he told me, he said, no, don't worry about it. He'll catch up with me at Budget and Finance. So
Okay.
I tried, with Lisa not here and him, I said, don't worry, we'll just get the blank check and we'll run. But he would catch up with us at Budget and Finance.
Okay.
But naturally, the other thing was the 3% pay increase across the board for all the deputies. And I can show you all one of the reasons why that I would like to ask for this request is every day these officers come in, you have inmates that want to make tools to try to harm us. Like making nunchucks. This was a piece of pipe that they made. To cut right in the neck. Here's a hairbrush. Luckily for the sheriff's office side, we do provide stab vests for the officers, but they'll fall down a spoon. I mean, they live in a very dangerous environment every day. The officers do when they're dealing with these inmates, toothbrush. They're taking their file over there. Pair of eyeglasses. They can bring them, and they got a nice little. So I wanted to show you all those. This is one reason why we're requesting a pay raise for these officers. Their starting salary is $27,000 a year to work in this environment. Third, we'd like to just ask for 4 new transport officers. Right now, we're finding that we are transporting more back and forth to the jail and around the state. We're having to go pick up people from all over the state. And we are also transporting more and more from the workhouse and having to sit with them. So we picked up those duties as well. And the last one request out of the wish list would be 2 more officers in booking. Right now, I think we have 3 to 4 officers in booking per shift. As Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne hire more officers, and Eagleville, who has hired 2 new officers, naturally they arrest more people and they bring them into jail, and then we have more people that we are processing through the jail. And we just wanted to throw it out there and ask and see what y'all thought about it.
Where are you at on your transport bus?
The transport bus has been painted. Right now, I think we're about $373 into that transport bus. We've got to get it striped. I don't know how much that's going to cost. And then, what is it, the sort team, we're going to take it over there to them, and they are going to build the cage in it for the inmates. So when we do that, we'll be able to use that bus. But right now, we won't be able to use it in the Sally Port. We'll have to transport the prisoners outside the Sally Port and load them on the bus. But hopefully we'll have that bus up and running that the city gave us within the next, hopefully, 2 months.
Yeah, got one. Explain line 204 for me. It's state retirement, and what you've actually used for 6 months this year, the department's request, and then the $606,000. It would seem like after 6 months, it would seem like that the state retirement is going to be roughly $525,000 this year.
State retirement would just be our retirement benefits that we pay into TCRS.
Yeah.
For this year's budget, I believe it was 12.79%. It's gone down to 12.64% according to Lisa Nolan for 2011-12. And then with the pay and step increases, that's where you get the new figure, which is 606.
So that number comes from Lisa?
Yes, sir.
From Budget and Finance?
Yes, okay. Well, that's why I was told that number's constructed, so.
It's going down.
It's not money.
Is there any other questions on the jail budget?
I've got a question. With the governor's announcement that they'll be taking quite a few of the state prisoners from us, are you anticipating fewer housed inmates this coming year, and does this budget reflect that at all?
We're reflecting that we're thinking that the governor may pull some. We don't know how many.
Right.
We don't know that at any time. And actually, the way it goes is if we house 500 inmates or if we house 1, we still got to run the facility. So with your question, no, we're not dropping any because we're going to drop inmates. We never do that because we still have, right now we go to two inmates per cell. Even if we drop numbers, we're going to have one inmate per cell, the way the jail was originally built. So if you're asking if we'd drop numbers, actually, no, we never would, because right now the jail has still never been adequately staffed since its conception.
Is there any other questions on the jail part budget?
I like the idea of the HVAC maintenance person, personally. I think it sounds good. But I'm willing to negotiate that person for something else, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm looking at the sheriff's request. Since really the department's request, if you adjust that state retirement, that comes out about the same as what the sheriff has. $250,000 roughly income. So otherwise, I'm not going to vote for an increased person. But if there's some way that we can balance that out, if you got something else.
Come on, line item 335.
On building maintenance?
335.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Did you say that it's a $68,000?
Is what you used for billing for HVAC was $68,000 to bill out
For service calls?
for service calls?
Last year was $67,000 and some change.
Okay. So if you took 67,000, you subtracted it from the 44,000, could you reduce your building maintenance budget by $15,000 to break even on that? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yes.
Does that way we're funding it, we're taking something away, but we're funding that position through the savings? And then the county would benefit does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. I'm all up for negotiation.
Well, I agree with Mr. Schaefer that it needs to balance out somehow, but.
So what we're saying is taking the 44 that it would cost to fund this person out of the maintenance and repair service buildings.
Well, not all of it.
Not all of it.
Not all of it. The cost was 67,000 and some change. Subtract that from the 44,000, which would be, somebody's good at math here. That's what we would subtract from the maintenance, is what I'm looking at.
You're only talking about subtracting $15,000?
Yeah, subtracting 15,000.
Because that's covering the extra cost. We're breaking even there.
If you're only subtracting $15,000 from that line item, all you're saving is $15,000.
But that's what they were.
You're not funding You're not offsetting that.
Yeah, I'm not offsetting it completely. I'm just cutting it by the savings. Is what I'm looking at. Does that make sense?
The difference between actual numbers would be 23,000 from 67 to 42 if you look at it that way.
But he's offering 15 out of 23, so I'm willing to take that.
Well, I don't blame you.
Or whatever that number was.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Well, I could go along with the commissioner if it's 23 with y'all. So you're still coming out.
That's where I'm at, is whatever that difference was, so if it's 23,
We still got another shot, right?
Yeah, still got another shot. I'll do it. No, we can do that.
All right, is there anybody else, any more questions?
So minus about 23.
So that makes the $200,000 minus 23,000 down to 174, give or take. 177.
All right, is there anybody else who wants to, is there a recommendation or anything? Or is there any more questions or about a line item or?
So right now, we're talking about funding the HVAC, taking out 23,000 out of the building maintenance.
Yeah, correct, 334.
What's it going to increase the?
It's going to make it roughly 12, 9, 34, something like that, 35.
No, expenses with your part.
with roughly about a $270,000 increase over last year.
Yeah.
That is correct.
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's going different than what you really. I mean, to me, a while ago, if we're gonna save $68,000 and we're hiring this person at $44,293, you know, to me, it would be basically cut it down to the $44,292. You know, from the $200,000. But that's cutting it even more.
Well, the other thing too is to think about how we are still doing projects, and we still have a few projects ongoing on that building.
Yeah.
The building maintenance, we still have several leaks and tile that need to be replaced.
So you would use that extra money for that?
Yeah, we're trying to play catch up on a lot of. That's one reason why we have that increase in there, because before I think it was about it was about $10,000 a month for building maintenance, and for 23 acres worth of buildings, not complete buildings, but we have the range, the jail, and the sheriff's office side and maintenance area. That was never enough. We blew through that actually about the end of October, once we started going in there and started trying to fix and clean up some areas and do different things once I took office.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Talk about building maintenance, what about the bricks you pointed out that are falling?
That is a separate thing that's going on, and the mayor has some money somewhere doing something. That's all kind of covered over somewhere else.
Yeah, but you was talking about building overhangs or something.
Yes, they did. The company that came in and did the brick inspection, they've boarded up some of the windows downstairs in the front of the jail if you go into visitation. They built an awning out front in case any of the bricks fall off, and then around back they've done the same thing for the tractor trailers that come under there.
Is there any more questions? Is there a recommendation?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's request with changing line item 335 to 177,000 and adding the HVAC maintenance person. Well, at 44,292.
And that would roughly be about a $270,000 increase over last year's budget, roughly, give or take a few dollars.
But I look at Dr. Rudd as 60% of that 270,000, and he's been that same price for 3 years now, hasn't he?
Yes.
And there's no telling how much that's actually saving us in the long haul, too. All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. All right, discussion on the motion on the floor. Commissioner McAdoo.
I know the sheriff had mentioned that the mayor was gonna catch him down the line to go over this. So would you bring up, if we just pass with the one HVAC maintenance person tonight, what would happen with the 4 transport deputies and the 2 booking deputies? Would you be discussing that with the sheriff department, with the mayor?
I have discussed that with the mayor. The mayor seemed to be more on board with the HVA person, and he was not as on board with the 3% pay increase for the deputies or the transport or the booking officers.
So you think from here to the budget committee?
Pretty much y'all are gonna get to, y'all will kill that, so when we go to budget,
With one HVAC person?
One HVAC person.
Okay.
That's the way I've been instructed how this works. Y'all get the first line of cuts, and from there we go on to the next.
Okay.
You got an increase today, the way it stands right
Yeah.
now, so you better.
Yeah.
But as far as the pay, I think that when budget finally determines if there can be a pay raise, you still may get a pay raise in there.
Okay, so that's not completely off the table.
I don't think so.
Well, now,
Do we need to go ahead and vote for the pay raise tonight to send it to budget, or?
what I'm understanding is the step increases that are due this year, the mayor and Budget and Finance are actually putting those in in the budgets now,
Yeah, those are in these numbers.
Yeah, those are in these numbers.
the step increases.
The step increase.
What he's asking for is an additional.
Yeah, an additional 3%.
For everybody across the board, in addition to the step raise, that's,
Just for the jail side.
Well, I'm asking for it for the jail side. I'll be asking for it on the other side. I'm asking for it completely across the board. I figure I can ask. Y'all can either say yay or nay.
But you're talking the pay raise, the sheriff's department and county general, just like building and codes, the assessor's office, for example, and I guess now the county clerk and the register of deeds, and what it'll be, it should be is whatever one gets is what the percentage will be. And 3%, if you went for, what are we, roughly 1,000 people, I don't know, you're talking what, $1 million?
I'm just here to fight for the sheriff's office, not the other departments. They got leaders over there.
Talking, I think, you know, usually the mayor and the finance director see what we have, is where it is and what can be given.
The figure I've got listed to that does include the benefits, insurance, Social Security, Medicare, all that information.
all right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion?
Personally, I'm gonna need a little more time to digest some of this. One of the problems I've got with it is, yes, I understand where we've got $200,000 increase on Dr. Rudd's bill there. I'm not real comfortable with that, knowing that we're probably dropping our inmate count, and I understand he's got to have personnel there to do the job day in, day out, regardless of the count. You know, that's just something I probably want him standing here to tell me why. And I can understand if he had to hire full-time RNs. But then I look on down the line and I see another $200,000 reduction for food cost. So that's kind of canceling that out. So we've got to go back and look. So we've got another $270,000 increase outside of Dr. Rudd if you let those two cancel them out. And, you know, like I said, I need a little more time to digest this, put it under my pillow and, you know, scratch on it some. And I'm not saying that I won't vote for this in budget. I don't want to discourage you with that. You know, there's some of these things you've got down here I'd like to see done, you know, especially these locks on these doors. We've got to continue the maintenance out there. There's no doubt about that. But I don't feel comfortable with this right now, especially with the mayor not having reviewed it and, you know.
Well, the mayor's reviewed all this. We sat down for 2.5 days.
Right. Now, I don't see his recommendations down here in front of me, though, and I'm used to seeing that, and then I can kind of critique off that because I know what he's been doing in the past, and I kind of use that as a weather vane to say, well, and then, too, I don't have him here to ask him, you know, why did you do this? So I'd like a little more time to look at as far as what the motion is right now. You're probably going to hear a no, but that doesn't mean that I won't support you in the future with this, but I need more time to digest it.
Okay.
Yeah, is there any more questions or comments? Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Hear any more comments or questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That would be one no. Everybody else is a yes. All right, moving on.
54-110 budget, which is the Sheriff's Department side. Of course, 101 is sheriff's salary. The next line item is 106, which is a grant position, and that was one we mentioned earlier. That's year 2 of a 3-year grant. So those monies are in there for that budget. Salary supplements, which we talked about on the incoming revenue side. We now have more officers that are certified than we did last year. So you're going to see that number's gone up, but that's a pass-through as well. Part-time personnel. Do you want to cover that, or you want me to do it?
Yeah, let me do that.
Okay.
All right. On part-time personnel, on 169. In the past, it has been set at, let's see, $421,216. I'm recommending a cut of $319,396. These are your school patrol moms, people out at your schools. These the direct traffic for the hour in the morning and the hour in the evening. We are recommending only keeping 16 of these employees. Those are the ones that are out on the county roads, but all the rest are inside the city limits of Smyrna, Murfreesboro, and Laverne. My recommendation is, due to the economic times that we're in, have to figure out ways we can save, and those roads belong to the city. If the city is having a traffic problem, they can opt to fund these or not. So that's my recommendation, to let them take over the funding of those if they should choose to.
Let me ask you a question, and I understand why you're doing it. Does the Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, do they know this?
I talked to Harry Gill about it today, gave him a heads up. The rest will be getting a letter deeming what we choose to do when we get to budget and finance.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that because, like I've said before, my constituents' property tax pays for that too. And I got schools right here, and it's only, if it's coming out of the sheriff's department, they're providing it to the whole county, then that's,
I don't disagree with
we need to keep that
you.
in there, so.
I don't disagree with you. They're still county citizens, but those are, the city of Murfreesboro patrols the streets and they deal with all accidents. In the city of Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne, they deal with traffic control issues. Yes, I can go in and supersede any of those at any time because the sheriff's office is the chief law enforcement office of the county. My recommendation is, at this time, the county might need, with the hard times that we're in, think about this. A few years ago, the city of Murfreesboro did the same thing that I'm doing to the county. They dumped it on the county, said, we're no longer going to do it. Those are county schools. If y'all want to have school moms out there, y'all do them. Well, I'm in turn turning it back over to them, saying, at this time, the county budget, just looking for different ways to save. Now, y'all can override me. Y'all can sit there and say, no, you're going to fund it, we're going to fund it, and you're going to do it, and we'll do it. But just my recommendation is cut it.
What about the director of schools? Say, picking up in his budget?
I doubt it. We didn't really go there.
You didn't go into that discussion?
Yeah, we didn't go there. I just informed him of what I was going to do, and he just said, okay.
Well,
So,
basically, they're a school function, they're not used unless school is in session. So, look like the director of education for the county would be looking at that.
there again, I fight for the sheriff's office side. He fights for the school board side. I don't want to get into his budget and stuff like that. I'm just worried about mine.
When this occurred, the city had actually said they were no longer going to fund these positions, and we picked those up. At a regional county commission meeting, I found out by asking the question, there are several county systems that also have municipalities that have school systems. Rutherford is the only one in the state that is doing the patrols inside those municipalities. All the other municipalities in the state are paying for their own traffic officers at their schools.
7 years ago, it was split between the cities and the county on city schools.
On city schools?
Schools in the cities were the patrols, the school moms, or whatever you want to call them, were split. At all schools in the city of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, Murfreesboro split the cost. Same thing in Laverne and Smyrna. Murfreesboro dropped it first, and the county made the decision at the commission meeting when we got the word that Murfreesboro was going to drop it, and we assumed, and it did happen, that Smyrna and Laverne were going to follow suit. We elected on the commission floor to fund it for the whole county. We also had about 80,000 less people than 7 years ago.
Well, my thought upon this was, when I was a kid, going to John Coleman, Smyrna Elementary, all the different county schools I went to, we never had them. At this day and time, we're just trying to think of different ways to make cuts. Nothing against them. It's just, in the times we're at, we've got other things that we do need to fund, that we have to fund to provide security. This, to me, I don't see as a mandate that supports what my sheriff's handbook tells me that I have to do statutory duties. And so if I could cut anywhere, this was one area that I thought that I could cut. Like I said, y'all can direct it not to be that way, but this is just my recommendation.
The city of Murfreesboro to the city school system, they provide those, or do you provide those?
No, the city school system, they provide them. The city of Murfreesboro provides those for all city schools. The private schools pay the city of Murfreesboro to provide their crossing guards at their areas.
And there's no statute in state law that requires us to even have a crossing guard, period?
There's none that I've been able to find.
Okay.
Have you spoken with the county attorney about what would happen if there was child hit, or, what kind of liability do we have, do you know?
I did not. That would be more of a traffic issue within the city. I don't see where that, personally, I don't see where that would fall back liability on us. That's happened in the city.
But would it be liability on the Rutherford County school system?
I don't see where it would be.
Here's where we're going to come into a problem. Is if the city chooses not to provide school crossing guards, and the county provides school crossing guards to only the counties in the unincorporated areas, and a child gets hit crossing Main Street down here at Central Middle School, who's going to be liable? City or the county? They're going to get a good lawyer. They're going to get a good lawyer and go, you provided it to Buchanan, but you didn't provide it to Central Middle School.
We provide a lot of other things within the county that we don't provide other areas.
I realize that, but that's a school system, and that's the safety of the children. I just don't want us to put ourselves in that situation. I just assume keep the money in there, because, that's my opinion. I mean, like I said, my constituents pay county property taxes and city property taxes. So we just need to be fair across the board to this constituents, everybody's that live in incorporated areas, not just the unincorporated.
And I respect that. I mean, just like I said, this is just a recommendation. Y'all can choose to do what you want.
I realize that.
Yeah, I pay both taxes too.
As long as we're on this subject, there's nothing that says that we have to provide school transportation for anybody either.
Yes.
But if you do it for some, you got to do it for all. You can cut and base it on grades or something like that, just so all. That could save a bundle in tough times.
Well, we could cut it out here, but we all know if we cut it here, we're gonna see a showdown on the commission floor. We're gonna fund it, whether it be under his department, education department, or what. We've done it before. We went through it before on the commission floor. I'm looking at, if he wanted cut out of his department, and he's talked to the director of schools, Harry Gill.
I've just told him that this was my recommendation. Now, if y'all tell me y'all want me to do it and y'all want to fund it, I'm good for it. I'm just saying, I'm trying to figure out any way that I can help save the county any money. This is my recommendation. If y'all tell me y'all want me to fund it and for me to do it, I'll do it.
Well, I think you need to have more discussion with the director of schools, myself personally, because, the students, the director of schools' responsibility. That's the way I'm looking at it. And he should be involved in this discussion more.
See, I look at it as a traffic issue. It's a traffic issue within the city or the county. Now, as long as we're taking care of the traffic issues in the county, then it should be a traffic issue within those cities. And so it kind of falls back, the way I see it, falls back on them. Nothing against them. It's just I'm trying to figure out a way to help save our taxpayers' money, on this end.
I know, I see what you're saying. You're trying to save, but just as the other commissioners are saying down there, we may save on this end, but if an incident occur, a good example used, Central Middle School, as being a county school, you furnish it for the rest of them, but you didn't furnish for this one. then we may need our county attorney or somebody up here to start answering these questions. Who's gonna take the liability? That's a big concern that I have right now.
Well, why don't we do this then? I mean, this, if you could just get with the county attorney and ask him what, that question that the commissioner is asking, you know.
We're going over your budget tonight, but we're not on a fast track where we have to get all this done tonight and put it on the shelf until budget meet, you know, because this is to me, it's serious, you know, well, what we do with this.
Well, or what we could do, if, I'm just throwing this out here, I mean, we could go over everything else in the budget and make a motion for everything except for that one line item, and then find out what that
Bring it back.
opinion would be from the county attorney, and then bring that part back up at a later date, Commissioner.
May be a wise move.
Yeah.
No problem.
Does that sound okay with the committee?
I didn't catch it. We were arguing on this end about it.
Go over all the other line items, hold that one line item out until he gets an opinion from the county attorney's office. And then that way, you know, we got an idea what the big picture's gonna look like.
Opinion on what?
On the liability part of not funding crossing guards.
If somebody gets hit?
Huh?
If somebody gets hit?
Yeah, right.
The other thing, you know, I'd say too is, you know, if there was something that, if it was, we were to just fund 16 and not the rest and all that, if we want to just cut those 16 too, if we just cut it completely out. It's up to y'all. This is just my recommendation of where in my budget I thought I could do some savings. So, you know, I'll do it all. I won't do it, or I'll do whatever y'all tell me y'all want me to do. But this is just my recommendation of what I thought out of my entire budget, what was the least priority within my budget. And it was crossing mothers and fathers that do that job.
I don't mind sending that part to the county attorney, but I guess what I'm guessing is going to say, if a vehicle hits a pedestrian, it's not the city's fault, the county's fault, no government's fault. It's whoever's driving the car or whoever stepped out in front of the car. I think that's what he's going to say.
Right.
But I don't mind sending it to him just to.
I mean, all I was doing is at the request of Commissioner McAdoo.
And that's fine.
That was what he was asking a while ago, and I didn't want to stall the process here with the whole budget.
The reason I'm asking that request, because as you know, every morning, if the speed limit is 40, then it drops down to 15 or 10 based on the school zone, in which we have the people out there patrolling that. And if somebody go through there doing 40, they usually write it down or whatever, and they usually address that issue. So we are controlling that speed in front of that school. We're the one that says drop it down to 15. So therefore, am I liable in that little zone? That's what I want the county attorney to answer for me. Am I liable? Because we're the ones that setting that. That's the reason I think we need a county attorney to answer that question.
What did the mayor say about it? When y'all talked about it?
Actually, we thought about this after our meeting with him. So this is the one part that,
It's different than your.
yeah.
Why don't we just do that? If it's okay with the committee, we'll go through everything else, and then once we get the opinion back from the county attorney, that way we won't stall the process.
I can't remember if it was or not. Yeah, pick it up.
Okay, so we bid at 186 longevity pay, and so you'll have more people there, longer time. So of course that number would go up. Overtime, we've kept it the same figure as it was last year. We've done pretty good on that, but as usual, comp time buybacks and those liabilities are still looming out there. I know that currently the current comp time buyback liability is $330,000. You'll see under other salaries and wages, there's an increase there as well. those figures are reflected with the current step increases as proposed from Lisa Nolan. In-service training, there's an increase of $10,000 there from last year. We're going to have more officers attending the academy. Other per diem and fees, we left that figure the same. Let's see. Drop on down to the next noted increase that doesn't have to do with payroll. Let's see, unemployment compensation, which will be line item 210. Now, we've put $20,000 in there for next year. That's another one of those, as I mentioned before, in the jail budget that that was not tracked before, and we're going to start tracking that this year. So we're asking for those funds at this point in time. Our current liability shows that we probably will not use those, but maybe about half of these funds, but it just kind of depends on how things go. Employer Medicare is from Lisa Nolan's office. Communication. We have asked for another $10,000 because we had a budget amendment tonight asking for more funds for that. So we'd like to increase that. And that line item is as you know, it covers all the communications for the entire facility. Contracts with private agencies. Earlier, I guess in the budget year this year, we went over some liability issues as far as switching to wool poly uniforms. Chief Garrett, who's with MPD, they have a contract to have dry cleaning performed on all their uniforms. So they found out that their uniforms tend to last 2 years instead of 1 year. So we're proposing to do the same contract. They've already bid this through, I believe it's Heritage Cleaners, so we'd like to add on to that contract if we could and purchase that service as well. So we're asking for $35,000 for the year to do dry cleaning of officer uniforms. So that's a request that we have. Data processing services, since we're going to start maintaining a lot of our OIT equipment, there's an increase there of $68,000. Dues and memberships has increased just a little bit. Maintenance agreements. That increase there is to take care of the UPS systems that are for the dispatch, and that's the uninterruptible power supplies. Maintenance and service repair on. I did want to note that maintenance service repair on vehicles. Let me go up to equipment. I'm sorry, 336. We're asking for a few extra dollars there to repair a lot of the headsets and just general equipment repair around the facility. But the big bulk of that, I believe, was about $12,000 to repair the headsets for dispatch and their chairs. Yeah, they needed new chairs, and these chairs last forever. But they've had the ones they've got there now for a long time. We don't want any increase in the department actually asked for extra money for 338, but we felt like we're going to see what we can do to keep our other costs down in other departments and just be able to roll funds into that as needed. You'll note other contracted services 399. I've added rent for office space, which is for our NARC department and ICE units. We are currently paying that out of the drug fund, so we were requesting if you could, we're just going to request see if we could pick that up in this fund as well. We did drop our gasoline budget by $50,000. We're doing pretty good on that budget this year, even though gas seems to be going up. We still seem to have quite a bit left in that account this year, so we're going to reduce that by $50,000. If you drop on down to, let's see here, data processing equipment was another large increase, 708, and that's basically for all of our, all of our maintenance and equipment for all of our IT. So all your computers, video projectors, network systems, all your servers, that's what that's for. Motor vehicles, which is 718. We've asked for $500,000 on that. What I'm wanting to do this year with this year's budget is when we get down to end of business for April, is I want to, the Crown Victoria is no longer being built. Ford's canceled that vehicle. And so they have taken all the orders that they're going to take, and they're going to build them all this year. That's it. Can't get any more. All of our equipment that we have that's in the Crown Vic Victorias that are existing will work on the new ones. Well, Chevrolet started back the Caprice Classic, but of course, none of that equipment that goes in the Crown Vic's going to fit a Caprice Classic. So what we're wanting to do is, when I get to the end of the business on April, I'm going to have another amendment that comes up to move a lot of funds around. I'm going to round up everything I can, and we're going to buy as many Crown Victorias as we can, because we're not going to request to buy very many more Crown Victorias next couple of years, because nobody wants to buy the first model year of a Caprice. Lord knows how many recalls it's going to have, how well it's going to perform. Plus, we're going to have to outfit them. This can be all new equipment when you go to outfit one of those. None of this stuff will cross over to those vehicles. Therefore, I'm going to do what I can with this year's budget. Now, for 2011-12, what we're asking for is at least the same amount again that we got this year, a few extra dollars, so that we can get as many more Crown Vics as we can find. That's going to be part of it. And then there's a request by the Medical Vehicle Department for a new work truck. We need another transport van. We've got one that's down completely and is DOA. We're going to have to get a new van. And then there was, what was the other?
There was actually 2 maintenance vehicles.
2 maintenance vehicles? Okay, go ahead.
In this, we're asking for a new transport van because the one we've got is dead. 2 maintenance vehicles. Right now, the maintenance vehicles that we have roughly around 200,000 miles, 180, 160,000 miles on them, and we just ended up pulling those out of a lot and just driving them. And then, of course, as many Crown Vics as we can get. Ford is changing their body style as well to a new Interceptor vehicle, but like he said, none of the equipment will be interchangeable except for maybe the radio itself, because
the light bar won't be interchangeable.
Well, the light depends on how wide the roof is and stuff like that. So we don't know yet for sure, but we just know that they're going to a new style vehicle, and we know with a new vehicle, there's always a lot of recalls, and when we do a lot of recalls, and you've got a lot of these officers driving them on different shifts, then you're going to be paying overtime for these officers to drive their car to Alexander to sit with it, or to wherever we buy it, not just Alexander, but to sit with it, have the recall done, and then to go home. So what we're trying to do with rounding up all this end of the year money, and with next year's, in the past, if you recall, say the past 3 years, we used to get about 25 vehicles a year for our officers. Well, with the economy being the way it's been cut down to about 10 vehicles a year. Well, that is starting to catch up with us to where a lot of our patrol cars are getting a lot more mileage on them than where they used to be. Well, these cars are high pursuit vehicles that take a lot of stress and a lot of abuse when you're running up and down the interstate at high speeds or on some of these county back roads trying to get places. And with the vehicle maintenance repair of these vehicles, that cost is going up. So we're asking, we're going to try to do this at the end of the year with all our extra money we can, but with next year too, because really and truly, originally I was going to ask for almost double what we have here. I was going to ask for $1 million for cars, so I could buy as many Crown Vics as we can, and then next year just say we're not going to ask for a vehicle one, because we want whatever vehicle that comes out to have at least 1 year on the road to prove itself before we even start trying to figure out what vehicle we're going to buy. Are we going to buy the Chevrolet or the new Chevrolet Caprice? Are we going to buy the new Ford, or are we going to buy the Dodge? You know, what vehicle is a proven vehicle and stuff like that. So it's going to take us a time to figure out what vehicle we want to go to. And so during this time, naturally we need to buy as many vehicles as we can.
You won't have to buy new equipment for some of those vehicles, like the cages and all that. You take some of that stuff out. And
if we buy as many Crown Vics as we can right now, the cages in them, the speaker mounting brackets on them, different things, different equipment from the vehicle is interchangeable, where the next year, whatever we buy, it won't be.
How many Crown Victorias will 500,000 buy? And the other thing is the cameras you have that have been bought over the last several years, they'll keep going, but are they still in decent shape
A lot of the original camera system that was funded through the county commission, it has been switched out for a digital system. That's part of the package we set up for a vehicle. See here. How many vehicles will this exactly buy? An outfit? Yeah. It'll buy 14. Which we'll probably end up getting around 12 because we want to buy 2 new maintenance vehicles and a van. So we've got that added in here. So it'll be 10 to 12 vehicles, but we've got to get those other vehicles.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On the next page, you'll see the wish list. Going back to the narcotics fund that we were talking about earlier, we are asking to absorb 6 positions. They are narcotics officers and they are ICE officers out on the interstate. Like I said, that fund has about another year's worth, and next year it won't have any in it. It won't have enough money to sustain to keep these officers on the payroll. We are also asking that one domestic violence detective that grant has ran out. We are asking the county to absorb that position and keep funding that position next year. Also in our request, we're requesting 5 additional civil process officers. Civil process is one of our main duties as a sheriff's deputy, and with the economy being as bad as it's been, we are seeing a lot more calls of service for civil process, serving different papers to different people, more evictions, more, actually we've started even having body attachments, and that means where we go and we basically grab somebody for a debt that they owe and we put them in jail for that debt. We are starting to see a lot more auctions, sheriff's auctions, for people. We walk in and we just take all your stuff and we auction it. So we're seeing a lot more service of that. And with that increase call volume that we're having to take patrol officers off the streets, out of zones and stuff like that to help these. We have 5 civil process officers right now that do the job, and we're having to pull officers from the streets to go help them do evictions and do different things, and those are very dangerous things when you go when you evict somebody from their house, especially if they're home and they don't want to be evicted. We've had several standoffs lately with people that did not want to be evicted. Also, I'm requesting an increase for Lisa Marcioni, who has been doing on the PIO stuff for the sheriff's office. We get requests probably about 10 times a day for different agencies or news organizations that want information. She's also been doing her job, and she's been bouncing back and forth. And I would like to I'd like to give her a pay raise to do the 2 jobs that she is doing, instead of just creating a whole new position. Just give her a pay raise. Also, this is one that no one's going to like, is we'd like to add $25,000 for meth cleanup. The federal government has quit funding meth cleanup. It's going to fall back upon us one way or the other to start cleaning it up as the local county officials. It's going to be our responsibility to start cleaning that stuff up right now until the state or the federal government can allocate more money. But right now the feds are out of money, and if we have a meth lab tomorrow, we'll be paying to clean it up. We'll roll some money around somewhere or something. What my biggest fear is you're going to have smaller counties that cannot afford to do this, and they're going to end up kicking it over into a trash pile or something like that, and that's an EPA nightmare. So that's my biggest fear. Hopefully we'll do it and do it right. Another wish list thing is 3% across the board for patrol officers, detectives, doing our jobs, defending and protecting the county. And the last one is we have an unfunded mandate of the sexual offender registry. we have to have a detective that's assigned to keeping up with all these sexual offenders in the county, making sure that we know where these people live and they're not near our children is a vital thing for all of us. Right now, the girl that's been doing it has a split job as well. She does evidence tech, and then she's been keeping up with the sexual offender registry as much as she can. When I came on board, she was out knocking on doors and doing things, and she was not a post-certified officer. She had not been trained in our procedures for patrol, and I immediately changed that. She started going through the FTO program. She is currently at the police academy, but right now, technically, under our roster, she is an evidence tech. It's just we haven't had a position or had anybody else that could do this job, so we asked her to start doing it. Well, the state has mandated more and more training and more mandates on this position to the point where it's got to be a full-time position to do it. Because during the month of March, every sexual offender in Rutherford County has to turn themselves into the sheriff's office and pay a $100 fine. I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head how many sexual offender registry people there are in this county, but there are a lot. And so we definitely want to make sure we keep up with them and know where they are and make sure that they're not near our kids. So those are the wish list, I guess you would say. On the other side is the noted increases, the motor vehicles, the data processing, data processing equipment, data process services, and then the dry cleaning.
Anybody have any questions? If there's no questions, is there a recommendation? Or what's the will of the committee?
All right, you want me to start asking then?
I'm trying to get some
My first
dialogue.
recommendation, let's cut $500,000 and go from there and see what happens, but I'm not. 205, employee independent insurance, it goes up $63,000, and where do you come from that?
That's from Lisa Nolan. I don't know. I mean, I've questioned that myself. I haven't had a chance to get back with her on that.
Okay.
From what I understand, I mean, to kind of take up for you here, a lot of those line items on that, Social Security, state retirement, employee insurance and all that, disability insurance, budget and finance puts those numbers together and then puts those into the line items.
Yeah, she
Well,
supplies
I
those
understand
numbers
it.
to me.
But that either means a lot of people are going to be switching over to county insurance, or that we're going to get a big increase in county insurance.
I think it also has part to do with, they did consider, as we talked about in the insurance committee the other day, that when the new healthcare laws come into place, your dependents, can now be on your policy up to 26 years old, which I didn't agree with either, but anyway, that's going to be an added increase. And so with the step increases and then that issue being brought up, that's supposed to cause that number to be increased. Because it as a percentage, it was up higher than a lot of the other numbers were, and I kind of questioned that myself.
Well, I'm also going to ask about 317, which you just mentioned the totals about it coming up, and 709. That's the data processing services and equipment, and it's going up with the two of them about $150,000
Yes, sir.
over
Yes, sir.
this year. And yet, I look down there and I see, where is it, 709? Doesn't say a thing about it. And I look up at the other one on up there. It doesn't say a thing about it as to why.
We are taking on our own IT department. We are separating from the county's OIT department.
Funding equipment and software?
That's funding equipment, software, and servers, and stuff that we need to do that.
So then we could say later on that the OIT department is going to drop quite a bit, right?
I just defend the sheriff's office budget, not any other department budget.
We're doing a lot of things, though, with OIT. We're using electronic timekeeping. We're scanning all kinds of documents in. Instead of making paper documents anymore, we're now going to electronic format on just about everything we can find. The network of the facility itself is going to be increased dramatically. We're going to try and do a lot of the, was it the
Video visitations, basically, we're trying to upgrade, as I said before, into the 21st century, and we're going to be taking on a lot of we're going to control our own destiny.
Well, I'll mention
The mayor
one.
agreed with this separation from OIT.
Yes.
And
Well, I
also-
don't think he fully agreed, but he understands.
He is aware.
He is aware of it. We've had
Numerous
conversations about it.
And I've heard some of the arguments over the years myself, so.
I'm going to just lump these three up. 35,000 for dry cleaning uniforms, okay? Then there's, then down there, there's upgrade uniforms to wool poly from polyester. And then there's an increase in line item 451. It's only a slight one, but due to switching to cotton poly uniforms. Okay, so we got.
Well, you have the
Lot-
cost of the uniform itself that we're switching these out currently.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
still
I
buying
know.
new ones.
Okay, and that's the one that's, line item, 716, correct? Is the one you're switching out?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, normally every year we get roughly, let's say $80,000 a year to buy uniforms and stuff, and so therefore we're still using that money, but then we're also, well, no, that's not it. We're using the 150, I guess, to start buying new uniforms. We're going to start cycling them in, but once we do with these uniforms, naturally we want to take care of them. And so we might get double the life out of them with going to dry cleaning versus sending them home with each officer and letting them wash and dry them, and next thing you know, they're halfway shrunk because someone didn't do the proper wash and dry cycle on it, I guess. We just feel that, we get more life out of it. The county will be served better by doing dry cleaning than they would right now. We take our stuff home and wash it.
There's a couple things that I know that are in your wish list that, the meth lab cleanup, we don't have an option on that. I know, like that the meth lab cleanup, that funding ceased. We're gonna have to do that. The sex offender registry position, that's like you said, an unfunded mandate. We're gonna have to do that. Increased position for the PIO. I'm for that. I don't like anybody that's doing a job that they're not getting paid to do. That's not right to that employee, especially because there's more responsibility with that. And the NARC positions and the ICE positions, I don't know what we can do with that. That's a high figure.
I'll tell you the mayor's thought on it was he thought that maybe we could absorb one this year.
That's what I was going to suggest. Maybe absorb some of it, but not all of it.
If we could not absorb all of it, I would ask, the mayor's recommendation was just absorb one person, that complete pay and overtime and all that. I guess my other thought on it is if we can't absorb all of it, could the county at least absorb maybe the medical benefits and the overtime and then let the NARC fund pay their actual salaries? You know, there's several different options, and I'm asking you to think outside the box on this for the simple fact of, imagine Rutherford County without a narcotics division or ICE on the streets. We have a college here with all types of drugs that come in and out of it. We also have kids in our community that are doing all types of drugs, the plant food. We just did a big roundup and we seized a whole bunch of plant food. If you're not familiar with that, get with me later and I'll be glad to just tell you all about the plant food and how many kids we've had in the hospital over that lately. So I'm asking for your help in thinking outside the box of trying to save this program before it gets to next year and then I slap on it going, it's either this or we don't have it at all. And then we've got to let career officers with 20-plus years with the sheriff's office go.
What's the will of the committee?
Did you recommend, said take the one position plus
Well,
medical?
my recommendation right now, or I'm asking to take on all 6 positions. Now, I know that that's a big bite to swallow. So that's my recommendation. Now, I'm asking you to think outside the box, if you will, and think of another way to possibly help us out with those 6 positions and those guys.
I will say this, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but, you know, 6 narcotics officers, I'd rather have 6 narcotics officers than I had, I think you were looking at paying for this, the $319,000 for the.
That was exactly my thought on it.
For the patrol.
If you weigh
Scoop patrol.
if you weigh each one of them and all that, which one is our greater need in this county? Do we need school crossing moms, or do we need a narcotics division and our ICE officers out here keeping drugs off the street? So I mean, in these desperate times, desperate measures, and so, you know, by cutting 400, you know, what was it? 319. You know, at first we thought about just cutting it completely out. And that would be, if we did that, that'd be $460,000 by cutting them completely out, and which the ICE positions cost the county $430, or cost the NARC fund $430. So that's when we started thinking about maybe just keeping the guys that we have servicing the county roads area and letting the cities pick up the other areas. But that's exactly where, you know, we came up with the numbers of the funding.
How many months have you been working on this, and we're working on it this first night here?
Oh, I've been working on it the past 3 weeks, just about on and off, 2 weeks solid. This has been an eye-opener, I promise you.
Well,
Well, if we send line item 169 to the county attorney and take that out of the equation, right now it's going to be hard for me to vote on the total budget with that in limbo, Mr. Chairman.
I understand. Hey, the will of the committee, is somebody make a motion in a second? We'll vote it up or down.
I'll make a motion, we'll see if it sticks. I'll take the recommendation as it was presented to us with that cut in there at $17,802,292, and just leave it at that, a motion for that amount. If we want to make some adjustments on different line items, we can do that.
So your motion is the
To
recommendation of the sheriff for 17.
Fund, which is actually a small decrease over last year's actual, $17,802,292. $17,802,292, which is actually a decrease over the actual last year by about 4,000.
Is that taken away?
That's taken away, that's just as it's presented to us.
All those. And that's taking all the requests off the table.
Like I said, I'm seeing what'll stick, so.
I'm just trying to clarify.
So your motion is to do what his recommendation is, it's
Find that amount.
$17,802,292.
Yes,
Is there a second to that motion?
and forward it to budget.
Is there a second to that motion? I'll call for it again. Is there a second to the motion? Motion fails for lack of second. Is there another recommendation?
Do we have enough time in the budget process to table this to next month so we can get some more feedback? I'll make a motion to table this to next month's public safety meeting, so we can get some feedback from the county attorney, and the county mayor can be with here to help us answer questions, and we can get some of these, some of your wish list items that aren't truly wish lists, that are mandates, incorporated into the budget.
All right, we got a motion to table table this till next month, and in a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing or seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we tabled the sheriff's department part of it, okay?
So that would end up tabling the drug fund too, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Let me ask you this, so I get clarification. I don't go to any other committee that I don't need to go to.
Right now?
I don't report to budget with anything.
No.
So.
Until.
It won't be till in May anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, what you need to do is those two budgets will come back, mayor will be here, and then I guess you and the mayor will sit down and work out something before you go, anything else that he may want to recommend when you go in May to the budget.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Maybe not all of the merit, a couple of line items that Lisa had come up with a figure and it wasn't really justifiable and they couldn't give a direct answer, so I think Lisa Nolan should be here.
Right.
And also I think the county attorney should be here. Then we can take care of all of these question mark issues with this one meeting.
But one thing that, to me, that could clear a lot of it up is y'all sat down beforehand together, so we did have the answers, and we'd be able to see it in black and white then, before it starts, and then.
Well, we did sit down. The mayor unfortunately could not be here for whatever reason, and so his side of it was not here.
Right.
Naturally, like I said, we were going to catch up, but we'll catch back up here. So I guess that's all we have for this part of it. Well, just for your
reference was the tables and stuff.
Yeah, the tables were in the very back. Okay, it has utilities. You have your overtime, your gas, your water.
We'll start giving you those on a monthly basis so you can see how it's a little more illustrative.
It's a little easier to figure out what's going on. If y'all will keep these, the next time we come back, we'll just bring you something to put in them.
Yeah.
On any other business, what we've got, I think, the Budget Committee had requested that the building project that come from property management come back to public safety, and that have you got something else on it?
Yes, I've actually got two more things under new items, I believe.
Okay.
The building.
Well, is one of them the building and the other one is something else?
Yes.
Why don't you just do the whatever the shortest one's gonna be first, and then we can do the.
Okay. I think the shortest one's gonna be, I think.
this probably will make, send the heading here, it's probably gonna need to be a special call meeting on this.
It probably, as far as I know, I need to start here, and y'all can give me y'all's recommendation of where I go from here.
Well, just starting off, that's probably gonna be what, I'm gonna do what the committee says, but probably my recommendation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, basically, this is the benefits that I believe combining the Rutherford County Workhouse and the jail together. And these are the recommendations of why it would probably save the county and the duplication of services throughout the county to combine both facilities.
And the reason I brought that up, having a special call meeting, is that way we got the mayor, the work center board, and everybody here.
Everybody here.
They can come and then.
This is why I brought it to this committee, for y'all's guidance and to tell me which way I need to go. I just want to bring it to y'all's attention. There again, you know, it's the will of the commission of what is done, but these are just my thoughts and my recommendations and how the county could, one, stop the duplication of services and probably save money.
I don't think this is a bad idea, but I would much rather see our dispatch consolidated before we ever get this consolidated. That's a problem. This right now is, it's fine. Dispatch has got to get fixed. We don't need the ambulance service dispatch and the sheriff's department dispatch. We need one. Let's get the problem solved and then come back with this later. That's my personal opinion. I don't disagree with this at all. I just want to see us solve the one problem that's directly affects public safety as a whole. So
I fully agree. I just, you know, I've had this and we've been putting it together for a while, and I just wanted to bring it to the committee's attention and ask for guidance on it in whichever direction. I talked with several people today about the communications part of it, and it, from what I was told, it is a go. That it looks like that here, once a couple other things are done, that the consolidation will be done. So that's what I've been told. So I'm asking for the committee's recommendation on how to bring this forward to the full commission and to whoever needs to be.
If it's okay with the committee, let's set a date for a special call meeting concerning the work center and the adult detention. Is that?
Could we put in the communications too? That way we can talk about it with the mayor and have both special call. If we're going to call a special call meeting, include the communications so we can figure out how we're going to.
Well, I think on the communication thing, they're actually waiting on the 911 board has got a consultant that's working on that, you know, and I don't know what the details are of that consultant. I think you just said it there.
Yeah, I think we're waiting back for, I forget, Chief? Oh, he stepped back there. I think it's like April, sometime mid-April when we have the 911 board meeting. So they should hopefully have some type of recommendation or
right now,
guidance.
They don't know any recommendation whatever on through 911.
I'd just like to see that done before this. That's why I was wanting to see where we're at.
I understand.
I think, you know, also too, it's really up to the mayor in doing it. So, yeah, it's whatever direction he's going to go with it.
With the correctional work center? Or
no, the communications. The correctional work center is y'all's.
I figured the communications was too.
Well,
we can not fund those positions for one department, and then
ultimately, yes, it is.
So,
but he's the one that's directly over communications. He is the department head, so he can deem to give it up if he deems to. With the workhouse, it has to be the county commission can deem to put it under wherever they want. There's 3 different styles of workhouses. It just has to have a 2/3 and unanimous vote through the county commission to put it wherever they want it. I've done my research on it.
this
So
here,
we need a date. We need a date.
yeah, I mean, I don't have a calendar with me. This is March 20. I guess sometime in April.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to get
What's
out
it
March.
open?
Before
We got a Monday, April the 11th. A
There's a-
Monday, I'm sorry,
Comprehensive plan hearing in here in the courtroom that night.
or the 18th of April. I don't think Anthony had never even here, okay. April 18th is open.
All right.
It's good with me.
For the 19th.
You take into account all the budget meetings that are set?
I don't
Don't
have
really know
budget
what-
meetings.
I don't have mine with me, but I was gonna say there's several coming up,
Don't they start really after the 21st?
most of them.
So I don't think they have many set these
I
weeks.
can see, I better get a pencil out instead of a pen.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we set a, April 18th, and if for some reason that it interferes with any of the budget, meetings, we'll have to do something different. But April 18th at 5:30. And we're probably gonna have to have it in here,
Yeah, we'll
because I'm
probably-
assuming that, but probably a few people show up. Is the workhouse board? Work, invite the workhouse board, the mayor, sheriff's department, whoever, he wants to bring, county attorney. Yep,
We combine
Lisa
the
Nolan.
workhouse board, then be over the county sheriff's department?
No.
Same as they are?
No. Basically, if you combine the two, you will dissolve the workhouse board.
All right.
5:30.
5:30, April 18th, special call meeting, and the agenda will be discussing what the benefits, the pros and cons of combining Rutherford County Adult Detention Center and the Rutherford County Correctional Work Center. All right.
Now for the, thank you. The other that we have going on, and we were directed to go to,
Email.
Mayor brought back on, put back on the table back in, it's a folded pieces of paper. You got it? I brought this, some TV to zoom in on if they would like. Talking with the mayor back around October and November, he brought back and put on the table the jail expansion that has, that was brought back up about a year ago. Certain things didn't fall in line right, and so it was kind of tabled for a little while. He brought it back to us and brought the architect over to us and asked us to lay out kind of how we would, if we had our way of everything, how we'd like to see it. With our, we are out of space at the sheriff's office. Needless to say, you've seen in our budget where we're asking for the county commission now to take on the lease of the building that we have roughly, I would say close to 20 officers in right now with our ICE units, narcotics units, and our ACE units, and a couple other people, and our dogs. So we're out of space. And so with this space, this is asking for roughly about 33,000 square feet add-on to the jail. Also, what we're asking for is, since we have the bus, and we're hopefully eventually going to be going to have maybe another bus later on down the road, expansion onto the Sallyport. But we've laid this out. We've worked with the architects for about 3 months, and the mayor seems to think that he can come up with the money somewhere or another. I know that the benefit for us is, with this building and stuff, we can pay for it out of the litigation tax. So, you know, with the litigation tax, we can pay for the building up front. Now, the mayor at first gave us an $8 million budget to kind of play with, but then I added on to the Sallyport and redoing the Sallyport for a bus to get through. That added on to roughly about another $1 million. So we went ahead and we asked for it, kind of a wish list. Hopefully, you know, we are in line in the building projects to receive, I guess, add on more building space. This building was designed to sustain the sheriff's office for 10 years. It's now been roughly 20 years. Kind of like our dispatch. It's designed for a 10-year lifespan, and we're now in the 23rd year. But also in this plan, you'll notice when you get down into the communication center, which is in the center of the paper here, we are adding, for a consolidation of dispatch, we're adding roughly 16 communications desks, tables for them. So we'll all be under one roof in one area. So naturally, if you're having a fire or several calls over different frequencies, at least those people can turn around and ask each other, hey, do you know about this? Yes, we do. Instead of right now at the sheriff's office, if we get a 911 phone call and we need to switch it over to the ambulance service, we have to call over there and tell them, and then if there's something that they need to know or we need to know, they need to let us know for officer safety, they have to call back. Where, you know, in this, they can just turn around and say, hey, let you know so-and-so's got a gun or a knife, or, you know, they're some type of medical reason. Also, with the expanded space, we'll have more office space for our vault, for our evidence. Right now, our evidence is overflowing within our vault. Some of y'all have come down and seen how the evidence is. It's stored in there. It's stored in there properly, but yet it's popping at the seams. And also with space, we've knocked out every single wall that we possibly can at the sheriff's office to add another desk or another piece of equipment somewhere. Right now, I've got a position that I would love to hire somebody for in management, but I can't, because if I do, I will put his desk in the hallway, and then that would be a fire violation. The only other option I have is close down one lobby completely, whether it be the warrants lobby or the visitation lobby, and turn that area into office space or rent more space. So we're bringing this to you. Trying to think of, we're going through the different committees and bringing it to y'all for y'all's comments and recommendations.
Kind of fill y'all in on Commissioner McAdoo's chairman of property management. I'm on property management. I think Commissioner Young is on property management, and I guess, yeah. But motion was made through property management to send this on for the design phase. Motion was, I think it was unanimous in the committee, because at some point we know we're going to have to build on out there, so it's not going to be money that's not going to be wasted at some point if we build it now or if the commission passes it later on. But it was passed on through property management as a recommendation to go ahead and design the building. Is that correct, Mr. Commissioner McAdoo?
That was correct.
The funding on this, Robert, you mentioned litigation tax. Are you saying, other than that Sallyport that you mentioned, adding another $1 million onto the price tag there, the $8 million, the mayor says would be able to be funded completely out of the litigation tax without a tax increase if we went ahead with this?
The way that I understand it from the mayor basically whenever he told me about this, said, you know, I had about $8 million to play with here to figure out this design. He did not tell me exactly where he was getting the money. You know, when it comes to something like this, I don't ask. You know, if you tell me that you can give me the expansion and all that, I'm not going to ask too many questions. I just want to get it done. We know we need it, and so, but then we came back and asked just for the Sallyport so we can get our buses and stuff in there. I'll be honest, I never asked him where he's going to get the money. I just want to see the project done, and so he brought it to us and said that we could do this. So I'm all for it, and I'm trying to get it through the committee so we can do it.
I don't have a problem forwarding this to budget, but I've got to see where the finances are coming from. You know, if we're talking about a property increase right now, you know, I'm not going to be able to support it. If we can get it through without property tax increases, you know, and we've also got a school or two that we're looking at, we're trying to do the same thing with. You know, I've got to set my priorities there, and you definitely got some needs that we've got to take care of. There's no doubt about that. But if we can do that through litigation tax without, you know, a property tax increase, you know, you look for my support. If we can't, you know, I'll just be frank with you. You know, it's going to be hard to get my support this year on doing this if it's got to come out of property tax.
I understand.
If it's available in litigation tax, you know, that would be wonderful, and hopefully it is.
I understand.
The blueprint, this drawing you have, you're not going to change it. You feel you've gone over this with architects and this, and so
Yes.
you're going to be happy if we do go ahead with the design.
Yes.
That we've
tweaked it from the way it originally was. We went back, we worked with them probably 5 different times over about a 2.5 month period of them coming back and forth to the sheriff's office and meeting with the mayor, and came up with this design, and we are happy.
And it is set up so it can be added on to. So you can do parts.
I don't know if this particular design, you know, I'm pretty sure we could figure out another way to add on to it if we needed to add on to this. Particularly, we could probably go out even farther because the way this goes, this is going out into the parking lot. Right now, we have 23 acres at the sheriff's office. You know, kind of buildings are scattered out sporadically, but I'm pretty sure, you know, right now, what I call the forest on the side of the jail towards Malloy is in the next design phase of having to add to the jail is where the jail tower would go. We have, I mean, they've done a extensive layout of the property for the buildings that we will probably need over time.
I could go along with this and forward it also but I want to see a physical statement like Commissioner P does, where the money's coming from. And this one, you know, I think it was about 4 years ago we passed that how the money was going to be funded or how the project was going to be funded came along with the proposal, and we kind of got away from it. It would be nice to know because the old adage of
but don't hold me to it. Unless one of y'all remember, because the mayor was there the night of.
I think the state has passed some taxes on when trials are settled and stuff like this, and it could project into quite a bit of money.
Yeah, right now I know the litigation fund, we can charge $25 for every court fee that we go through, that someone goes through. But whenever we put a bond on a building, the county can, by resolution, raise that fee up to $50 per court case. But then as soon as the building, the bond has been paid off, it has to go back to the $25. So you can raise it for the project, but then once the project's over, you have to lower it.
Mr. Chairman, what are we looking for tonight? We need to make a motion to send it to budget? Is that what we're trying to, is that what we need to do? Is that the next step?
It needs to go, I mean, it's going to have to go to budget.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion to send it to budget, since the mayor's approved this and looked at the money, like you said, and taking into account what Mr. P said. But go ahead and send it to budget and see where it goes from there when the numbers really start coming down on it.
So basically, your motion is to
The project is planned right now and send it to budget and let them figure out the finances on it.
right, to look at the funding mechanism.
Exactly.
We got a motion and a second. Our discussion. Don't hear any? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I've got.
That's all you got? All right. Is there any other business to come before the committee from anybody on the committee?
Well, last time, they said the date on the special call.
April the 18th at 5:30.
Yeah. Is that a Monday?
Yes. All right. If there's no other business, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.